Hello, welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. 10:00 p.m. IM. Chapter 181, Chapter 177. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Boston, Massachusetts. Boom. A deafening roar sounded in the city, and a skyscraper fell over and turned into ruins. A giant monster appeared in the ruins. Oh, the monster uttered a roar. It was about 20 to 30 meters tall. Its full-color skin was as rough as a crocodile. It could walk upright and its head was like a blooming flower. Boom. As this monster rampaged through the city, a building collapsed with a boom. It's a monster, it's a monster. It fell from the sky, just appeared so suddenly, run away. Don't stand in my way, damn it. Suddenly, the citizens on the street panicked and fled around the street like headless flies. The Avengers. Gather. At this time, the Avengers appeared in the city. Captain America Steve, Iron Man Tony Stark, Thor, Hawkeye Barton, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. Except for the invincible Hulk who was missing, all the Avengers arrived in this city. Does anyone know where this thing came from? Iron Man said, unless a mutated monster on Earth, this guy should be from your world, Thor. Thor shook his head and said, I have defeated countless ferocious beasts, but I don't know anything about this monster. Advertisement. Cracky. Thor raised the hammer of Mjolnir, lightning bolts from the sky, and strong silver lightning fell from the sky, hitting the monster. Oh, the monster roared in pain, and there appeared energy tentacles in its head that resembled a split flower, lashing frantically in the city, and suddenly the rubble splashed, and the sound of boom was endless. Building after building was faltered by these tentacles. There are citizens in these buildings, Thor and Iron Man Tony Stark to beat this monster, but pay attention to its energy tentacles. For the rest, the primary goal is to preserve civilians. Captain Steve commanded. We are on the move, Captain. Hawkeye rushed towards the street, helping each citizen out of danger. Suddenly, a harsh scream came, and a woman fell from the 5th or 6th floor. Don't worry, I'll catch you. Steve stepped forward quickly and took the woman down. Monster, surrender to Thor. Thor shook his hammer, Mjolnir, and rushed towards the troll. Thunder flickered in the sky, hitting the hammer, and Thor bombarded the troll with silver lightning. A hammer hit the giant monster's head, directly smashing the giant monster to the ground. Oh, the troll roared in pain, and countless energy tentacles furiously beat Thor on Thor's body, and threw him away directly. Thor, stand up, we can't do without you in this battle. Iron Man Tony flew over Thor. Don't worry, I just weighed it. Thor got up from the ground. Jinliang, I don't need you to say, I can guess, it's sinking. Iron Man circled the giant monster flight, one after another micro-missiles shot towards the giant monster, and then a burst of explosion sounded. I've dealt with heavier ones. Thor raised the truck next to him and threw it at the monster. Then, he shook the hammer and followed the truck to leap over. The big truck slammed on the head of the monster. A bang exploded, and the body of the monster began to tilt. Advertisement. Now, the troll is out of balance. Thor lifted the hammer of Mjolnir, struggling to hit the troll's head. The monster roared in pain, and fell to the ground with a boom. Tony, what do you think? Can you read data from the trolls? Captain Steve appeared beside Iron Man. Scanning. Feel the fury of thunder. Thor roared, and the hammer was thrown on the troll's face, directly knocking the troll to the ground. Well, now, let's give the troll a fatal blow. Steve shouted loudly. Thor flew high into the sky, and as he lifted the hammer of Mjolnir, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and silver lightning struck down, bombarding the body of the troll. Boom. Iron Man also fired a miniature missile past, and suddenly there was a deafening roar. This big guy shouldn't be able to get up anymore, Tony said. Tony, if you want to say, thank God, only a monster came, I advise you to stop it first. With Natasha Romanoff's voice, several meteors across the sky struck and hit hard. Not far from everyone. Rumble. With a deafening roar, the building fell, and a violent wind pressure mixed with sand and dust swept all around. Oh, a howl sounded in the ruins. Everyone looked forward, and a few more monsters appeared. Iron Man took the lead in flying over, and the miniature missiles on his shoulders shot towards the monster. Boom boom boom, the miniature missile shot at the monster, bursts of explosions roared, and blood spattered. Kaka kaka. The monster roared strangely. This is a creature that looks like a giraffe. Its body is like a crocodile, but it has a tall head. On the head is a huge amount of eyes and mouth. Grows on the body. The behavior of these creatures seems to involve cooperation and communication. Tony was surprised. Boom. Suddenly, there was a thunder in the sky, and silver lightning blasted on the monster's body. Advertisement. To survive the power of Thor, the god of thunder, cooperation is far from enough. Thor threw down with a dense lightning strike, and the hammer Mjolnir hit the monster's head. With a Boom, the monster collapsed to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Rainbow Island. Lee, there are two monsters in New York City. Peter said hurriedly in the lobby. Then let's go. Lee Wei raised his cloak, and everyone followed him, Spider-Man Peter Parker, Electro-Optical Max, Green Goblin Harry, Sandman Mark, Spider-Gwen, Black Spider-Man Myers, Cobweb Cindy, Venom Eddie, and trainee hero Nicole. As the first time participating in a hero's battle, Xiao Nicole was very excited. The Night Fighter was like a black meteor, and soon appeared in the center of Brooklyn. In the city, there are two giant monsters madly destroying everyone. The battle has begun. The Dark Knight Fighter appeared over the giant monster, and Li Wei looked at everyone. Electroman Max and Sandman Mark enter the battle. I can't wait. The voice fell, and the Electric Man turned into a flash of lightning and rushed towards the troll, and Sandman Mark turned into a gust of sand and followed. Venom, Spider-Man Peter, Green Goblin Harry, you are on the side to assist in the fight. As Li Wei finished speaking, the three jumped down. Spider-Man Miles, Spider-Gwen, Cobweb Cindy, Nicole, your main task is to rescue the citizens on the street. The four of them nodded and jumped off the fighter plane. Chapter 182 Chapter 178. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Crack. In the city, the buildings around the monsters were shining with a large number of electric currents. These electric currents gathered together, and the electric light man Max appeared. Countless electric currents gathered in Max's hands, turning into a thunder ray and rushing towards the monster. Roar. Sandman Mark let out a roar. His body grew larger and larger as the sand gathered, and finally was about tens of meters tall, almost like a monster. He hit the monster with a punch, and the monster was knocked over directly. On the ground. Harry hovered in the air on a hang glider. His equipment had been strengthened, and the weapons he carried were stronger. Shoo! Mini missiles shot out from the skateboard under his feet and bombarded the monster. Spider-Man Peter swung the cobweb and flew between the buildings. He jumped on the monster, shooting out the cobweb one after another, and quickly wrapped the head of a monster like a zongzi. At this moment, Sandman Mark rushed forward, his arm forming a huge hammer, struggling to hit the monster's head. The monster roared and crashed to the ground. Where did these guys appear from? There is no warning at all, as if they had fallen from the sky. Peter leapt into the air. No matter where they came from, since they came here to do damage, then don't go back. The electric light man held a thunder halberd and threw it at the monster, and in an instant it pierced the monster's chest, and then burst out a dense electric current. The monster roared in pain. Don't give them a second to breathe. The sand giant rushed forward, his arm turned into a long sword, and he slashed towards the monster's head. Blood spattered, and the monster's head rolled to the ground. Not long after, the two monsters died on the spot under the siege of several people. Everyone, I'm afraid the crisis is far from over. I have received similar crisis reports from all over the world. Advertisement. Li Wei was suspended in the air, and there was a transparent screen in front of him, on which there was information about the destruction of monsters in various cities. Similar. Peter leapt over. Yes. Li Wei said. It looks like we scored into several teams and attacked together. Li Wei said. Peter leads the Spider team and the Electro-Optical Max team. Sandman Mark, Green Goblin Harry, Venom Eddie, and Green Sister Nicole are a team. My own team. Everyone, let's go. At the same time. Springfield, Missouri. In a residential house, in the boys' room, news events about the emergence of monsters around the world are being broadcast on the TV. Across the world, dozens of suspected interconnected disasters have erupted at the same time. Some people believe that this incident should be attributed to biological disasters, and some believe that it is occult. Others think it has something to do with Christology. At present, the military and superhero teams, such as the Heroes Association and Avengers, are appearing in front of live broadcast cameras, resisting monsters that appear all over the world. Hugh, have you seen this news? A woman's voice came downstairs. I saw it, Mom. The boy replied. If this scares you, will you come down and talk to me? The woman's voice sounded. I was not scared, Mom, I am not a kid anymore, the boy said. Advertisement. Besides, I'm busy. The boy sat at the table. On the table was a picture book with strange monsters painted on it. These monsters are like countless animals pieced together. Some resemble a lion, but its head is a snake head, and its body still has a lot of tentacles. As the teenagers painted on the painting book, meteors drew across the sky all over the world. These meteors fell into the city, turning the city into ruins. Monsters walked out of the ruins. London, England. Boom. With a roar, a monster with huge amounts of appeared in the city. It was a monster with the appearance of a giant spider. Its body was dark and its skin was like steel. X-Men, be careful, this monster can release energy shocks. In the sky, Storm was floating, her eyes were white, and lightning bolts fell from the sky, bombarding the body of the spider monster. Thank you, Storm, this safety reminder is very important. But I don't think any of us need you to remind you to avoid the things released by those monsters, because it's disgusting. Iceman appeared under Storm, his hands sprayed a lot of cold, and the spider monster's feet were instantly frozen. Nice job, Iceman. Colossus quickly stepped forward and leapt fiercely on the spider monster's feet. As his attack fell, the frozen foot was broken. At this time, Colossus gave a startled roar, and the spider monster kicked him with one foot and kicked him out. Fizz. The spider monster uttered a strange cry, and shot a stream of yellow energy liquid from the hole in its back. The building hit by this energy liquid melted instantly. These things are so hot that they will be burned with a laser when they come into contact with them. The young men are paying attention. Wolverine personally experimented, his skin has been melted, revealing the adamantium bones under the skin. Angel Warren was flying in the sky. He looked at the gunship helicopters and said, the military is also dispatched. But I don't think they can use this monster at all, Colossus said. Colossus, I need your help. Advertisement. At this time, Wolverine Logan appeared beside Colossus. Colossus naturally knew what was going on. He grabbed Wolverine and threw Wolverine directly at the spider monster. Very well, I'll hit 10 for this throw. Wolverine landed on the spider monster's back, and the sharp claws slashed through it, wounds appeared, and a large amount of mucus appeared on the spider monster's back. Good job. Catch the monster's attention. Let me end this monster, now. Storm summoned lightning from the sky and bombarded the spider monster. Suddenly, the sound of thunder was endless, and the spider monster fell under the impact of thunder. Los Angeles, America's second largest city, located in southwestern California. At this moment, 3 giant monsters were madly destroying the city, and the military was helpless against these monsters until Li Wei appeared. Hey, guys, you have worked hard. Li Wei walked into the army, and the soldiers suddenly breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Li Wei coming. Now the reputation of the Heroes Association is surging. The hero who wears the yellow tights is frighteningly famous throughout America and even the whole world. Perhaps even Li Wei himself did not realize his status in the hearts of the people all over the world. Many people have compared Li Wei to the patron saint of the world. The surrounding soldiers took the initiative to make way for Li Wei. Li Wei trot quickly, clapping with these soldiers, and then stood on a tank and shouted at the monster in front. The 3 monsters in front, don't look around, that means you have been surrounded by me, now give you 3 seconds to lay down your weapons and surrender, otherwise you will be punished. Chapter 183 Chapter 179 Eye of Agamotto, seeking subscription. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Obviously the monster couldn't understand Li Wei's words, he was just watching the soldiers around him suffer heavy casualties, and enlivening the atmosphere. Ho 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 ho. A deafening roar came, and the 3 monsters rushed towards Li Wei and the others. Boom boom boom. The ground was shaking, and the surrounding soldiers showed horror. Li Wei took a step forward, and instantly he disappeared. In an instant, when he reappeared, Li Wei had already arrived in front of the 3 monsters. Boom. There was a silent boom, a monster's head burst open, flesh and blood splashed to the ground, and the huge body fell to the ground with a roar. The figure flickered, and Li Wei flew towards the other monster. With a punch, the monster was killed. He writhed in the air again, slashing his foot towards the head of the last monster, blood spattered, and the headless body of the monster collapsed on the ground. Good job. The soldiers in the distance let out violent shouts, and Li Wei hovered in the air with his cloak flying. Li. At this moment, a voice sounded behind Li Wei. Doctor, since you have appeared, you should have some eyebrows for this monster event that suddenly appeared all over the world. Li Wei turned around and Doctor Strange walked out of the whirlpool portal. I have checked the records of many ancient books, and it seems that there is a faint shadow of this disaster. Stephen said, you follow me, this is not a simple monster invasion. After speaking, Stephen walked into the whirlpool portal, and Li Wei followed him. After passing through the portal, the two came to Stephen's house. Stephen flipped through the magic books on the bookshelf. He said, in the last half an hour, a dozen meteors appeared in the sky. Whenever a meteor hits the ground, a monster will appear, wantonly destroy the city. So, our world is either unfortunately blocked in the path of some kind of monster meteor shower. Either someone or some mysterious force is calling these monsters. Advertisement. I have seen the future with Eye of Agamotto, and countless monsters will appear on this land. Obviously the heroes can't stop this catastrophe, you and me, we are going to find out what happened. Steve looked at the Eye of Agamotto in front of him, and Ancient One magician had already given him this artifact. Ancient One believes that Stephen is already qualified to inherit the identity of the Defender, and that Stephen can become Sorcerer Supreme at any time. Definitely, I'm happy to help. Li Wei shrugged. It's better to have some evil villain, or it will be boring. Stephen was holding a thick magic book, and quickly opened the magic book with his fingers. When Li Wei was dazzled, Stephen had already finished reading a magic book. At this moment, Stephen frowned suddenly. What's wrong, Doctor? Li Wei asked. It seems to have found something. Stephen quickly opened the magic book. He said, a few centuries ago, a blood-stained pen wrote scribbled language on the parchment, and the dark prophets knew that this day would finally come. Quote. The roar of a madman. Warning of the witch who was burned to death on the stake. It seems that the conclusion is clear at a glance. This is the end of the world. Stephen murmured. If you can really see the future, how can we solve it? Li Wei asked. I have all the collections of Ancient One Magician here, but I have read these collections. All the prophecies and obscure formulas can only describe a few fragments of a Hongda picture. This is the day of destruction, this is the day of destruction of monsters. The old magic book is very useful, but it is just a starting point. An ancient book is just a few words. It is a fragment of the grand puzzle on the day of destruction. A small corner on the map. To discover the complete truth, we need to investigate. Advertisement. Fortunately, I already know this place. Stephen looked up, he cast a magic spell, and the portal appeared. Let's go, let's explore the truth about this day of destruction. Steve walked into the portal, and Li Wei followed him closely. When Stephen and Levi were investigating the cause of the monster attack, monsters were attacked all over the world, and countless meteors fell from the sky. Every meteor carries a huge monster. Wakanda. Golden City. Oh, several giant monsters appeared in the city on the ground, and the tanks of Wakanda's army attacked these monsters frantically. Boom boom boom. These high-tech tanks released energy cannons. In the sky, helicopters attacked the monsters. A black shadow appeared on the building where the monster was attacking. He was the king of Wakanda, Black Panther T'Chaka. The palace is destroyed. These monsters will automatically increase in size. We must stop these monsters before they grow to be larger than the city. Black Panther said. Your Majesty, this is not an independent incident. Monsters have descended all over the world. Based on the information we have collected, I feel that this is like a carefully planned attack. Beside the King Black Panther, the captain of the guard said. I agree, there are unknown enemies behind it. But before I have the energy to expose the culprit, we must solve the trouble at hand. Black Panther said. This monster has very thick skin. It ignores our most violent attack. Our army should turn to protect the safety of civilians. The captain of the guard said. Advertisement. In this case, deterrence and intimidation must be put in the first place. Monsters also have their weaknesses. My eyes, mouth, and I am not afraid to approach alone. With that, Black Panther ran towards the troll. Seattle, Washington. Hikaka. In the city, huge monsters fought against the Fantastic Four. It's served, barbecue monster. The thunderbolt flew in the air, and his hand sprayed hot flames, impacting on the monster's body. Flame wave. In response to the increase in flame temperature, the monster roared in pain. Even though its skin was thick, it was scorched under the flames of thunderbolt fire. At the feet of the monster, the stone man pushed away from the ruins. He rushed towards the monster, and slammed into the monster's legs. The monster leaned forward and fell down with a roar. Let me give him a fatal blow. The stone man roared, and he dashed forward, jumped up, and slammed his fist on the monster's head. Boom bang bang. As the stone man smashed fist after fist, the monster wailed in pain. In the end, his head was smashed, and there was no breath. It's disgusting. Don't come near me. Thunderbolt made a retching motion. If you solve the monster, then I think you can come and help me. At this moment, Mr. Fantastic is fighting another monster. His body extends indefinitely, entwining the monster, and firmly fixing the monster. Ho 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 ho. The monster uttered a roar, but couldn't get rid of it. Immediately, the stone man leapt up and hit the monster's head with a punch, knocking the monster to the ground. Chapter 184 Chapter 180. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Venice, Italy. By the lake, countless purple tentacle monsters broke through the lake and attacked the humans on the shore. These tentacles have big mouths of blood basins and an erect eye. Fighting this water monster is the alien race, the alien Queen Medusa, the alien Crystal, the alien Hellfire, and the alien Karnak. Hellfire, Crystal, Karnak, once we have cleaned up this area and rescued ordinary people, we will immediately use our full strength. These monsters must be eliminated, said the Queen Medusa. There is only one water monster in front of us. All the heads are from the same torso and are hidden under the water. Karnak said. What? Hellfire couldn't believe it, all they had dealt with for so long was a monster. He sprayed flames in his hand and rushed towards the head of an attacking tentacle. In other words, what we are dealing with is not a group of relatively large monsters, but a super large multi-headed monster. Crystal said. We have to end this battle as soon as possible. Queen Medusa looked at Karnak, the stranger. Did you find a weakness? It's not that simple. Karnak, the stranger, looked up to the sky, and saw a blazing shooting star hitting them down. Peru. Here is a huge virgin forest. In the forest, the fog is filled with vines crisscrossing like a giant python, and towering old trees stand tall. Doctor Strange, Stephen, and Levi came to this forest, and as the two of them progressed, various strange plants came into view. This is a land off the beaten track. Without humans, it presents the most perfect natural state. Eye of Agamotto told me that the answer is here. Doctor Strange said. As the two moved further and further away in the virgin forest, a cave with huge amounts of black and lacquered appeared on a steep mountain wall. Some mysterious ancient ruins. Doctor Strange and Li Wei walked into the cave. The two arrived and disturbed the residents inside. After a sound of sand, a group of bats flew out. Advertisement. As the two went deep into the cave, some ancient patterns appeared on the wall. These patterns seemed to tell us something. Li Wei scanned the wall one by one. Yes, the doomsday befalling us. Doctor Strange looked at the primitive patterns on these walls. As long as humans were still studying fire and wheels, some people had expected it. On the walls, there are some simple monster patterns, and the monsters attacked are some little people like ants. Monsters ravaged the earth and flattened the indigenous world on the earth, holding the name of some kind of evil force, and making other monsters awe-inspiring monsters. The King of Trolls. Maybe it's our mistake to ignore the warning. In the epic of human self-defense battles, there are different versions of the battle for salvation. If you are not careful, you will lose their clues. Stephen was stroking while talking about patterns, his gaze focused on a pattern. What is this? A symbol, a summoning card, and a hieroglyph. Monsters are summoned by the Lord of Trolls and descended on this world. Stephen said with a heavy face. Lord of Trolls, listening to this name is definitely not something to deal with. Moreover, more and more meteors pierce the sky, monsters will constantly appear on the earth. Stephen said. So, the heroes fighting all over the world can't resist this disaster. Li Wei said, perhaps we want to unite them all to command the battle. Yes, let's divide our troops. Doctor, you continue to look for clues to summon monsters, and to unite all the heroes. Li Wei said. Good. Doctor Strange nodded. Missouri. Advertisement. Springfield. Monster disasters are still going on. Hero teams are resisting these monsters that fall from the sky all over the world. It is currently impossible to predict where these monsters will appear. It seems to appear randomly, but it seems to be premeditated. On the TV, a live news broadcast of heroes resisting monsters is playing. Now that we have entered a state of global alert, citizens are advised to stay at home and follow the evacuation instructions issued by the authorities. The rescue center began to resettle civilians who were homeless due to the monster incident. If you just started watching, now dozens of monsters have launched attacks all over the world, and the number of monsters is still increasing. At the table, the boy stopped his drawing pen, he put away the drawing book and went downstairs. Hugh, is that you? Hearing the sound of the stairs, a woman's voice sounded in the living room. Yes, mother. The boy replied. You won't go out, it's not a good idea. The woman said, it's very unsafe outside now. You know what your father will say. Safety comes first. Safety helps you avoid the pain and sorrow of illness. The boy murmured. The next moment, the woman said, safety comes first. Safety helps you avoid the pain and sorrow of illness. So today, can you stay at home? The boy opened the door and he went out. It's done, mother. After the boy walked out of the house, he ran into the woods beside the road. The boy raised his head and he could see meteors in the sky. Kuwait K. Advertisement. Suddenly, a sound with a deep roar sounded behind the boy. The boy stopped, he turned to look, but the next scene scared him to sit on the ground. Because behind him, there are a few huge amounts of monsters. Over the entire forest, a huge head appeared, a bit like the head of the evil dragon in the movie. Even if it was just a head, it occupied the sky of the boy's field of vision. Under the head of this evil dragon are monsters. There are gorilla-like, toad-like, shark-like creatures, countless. Follow my warning, child. The evil dragon's head spoke, shaking the boy's eardrums with throbbing pain. No matter what you think you are doing, no matter what your purpose is to summon us, you are playing an extremely dangerous game. Xavier Youth Talent Academy. X-Men has set out to fight the invasion of monsters all over the world, and now there are only a few scattered students in the college. Li Wei enters the academy, and at the far door, Professor X is already sitting there and looking at him. The professor already knew that Li Wei was coming. Professor, I need your help. Li Wei walked over quickly. I know, this disaster is no longer personal, will be able to resist, you can just say it. Professor X said. This disaster will soon become a wave of monsters sweeping the world, and the hero teams are still fighting on their own. I need to unite them and accept a unified command. This will help us resist the monsters. So, I need the professor to let every one of them hear me. Li Wei said. Chapter 185 Chapter 181. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. That's okay. Professor X nodded in agreement, and he took Li Wei to the secret base of the X-Men police. This is the basement of the college. After walking through a few corridors, the two came to an empty space. In the space, there is a machine, that is Professor X's brain wave strengthening machine. As long as his consciousness is connected to this machine, he can enter the mind of any person in the world. Li, it's okay, you put your hand on my shoulder, they can hear what you say. The professor said. Li Wei nodded, he stepped forward and put his arm on the professor's shoulder, and said, Everyone, I am the Heroes Association, Li Wei. At the same time, Li Wei's voice sounded in the minds of heroes from all over the world at the same time. Britain, X-Men's Wolverine Logan, Iceman, Colossus. Wakanda Black Panther, Fantastic Four of Washington State, Mr. Fantastic, Thunderbolt, Stone Man, Invisible Woman. The Alien Race of Italy, the Alien Queen Medusa, the Alien Crystal, the Alien Hellfire. The second team of the Heroes Association that has gone to Japan, Spider-Man Peter, Electro-Optical Max, Spider-Gwen. In the third team in Germany, Sandman Mark, Green Goblin Harry, Venom Eddie, Sister Green. America's Avengers Captain America Steve, Iron Man Tony, Thor. Everyone, the end has come. Li Wei said in a deep voice. This is by no means a joke with everyone. The coming disaster is no longer an individual or a hero group that can resist alone. I need everyone to work together to deal with this crisis. Now, all hero teams will begin to connect and conduct unified command operations. Everyone. Any questions? Li Wei asked. Advertisement. No. In Li Wei's mind, the voices of all the heroes sounded. Then, the person in charge of this war will be handed over to the captain. Is there a problem, Captain? Li Wei asked Steve. No, Steve responded. Then everyone, the war has begun, let's fight back against the monsters. After speaking, Li Wei withdrew from Professor X's brain. A mighty counterattack has begun. Li Wei raised his cloak and disappeared in the corridor. San Diego, California. Oh. The city was filled with gunpowder smoke, and the streets were full of fires rising into the sky. The center of the city has been reduced to a ruin. In the ruins, a large purple bug appeared. The monsters that appear this time are much worse. The Fantastic Four's Stone Man roared, and he rushed forward and grabbed the tail of the big bug. The sound of boom 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 sounded, and the ground burst and strips appeared. Crack. Stop it for me, monster. The Rockman roared, his legs thrusting into the ground. Although the Stone Man was pulling hard, he was still being dragged forward by the big bug and monster. I hate this terrible bug. The strong acid he sprays can melt my body. The Stone Man struggled to hold the big bug's tail to create favorable conditions for his teammates' attacks. Yes, you come and tell these monsters that you still have 2 brushes. The Thunderbolt flew across the air, his body burned with raging flames, and a burst of hot energy burst out of his hands. Flame wave. Thunderbolt shouted. The energy in his hands exploded, forming a burning rotating flame jet, and rushing towards the big bug monster. Advertisement. Under the impact of the hot flames, the big bug let out a painful roar, and the tail behind him drew directly towards the Thunderbolt. Oh, no, this is not what I want to see. The Stone Man hugging his tail said, ah, and collided with the Thunderbolt of fire in the air. You two really don't make people worry about it. Susan Invisible Woman appeared in the distance. The Stone Man and Thunderbolt fire were wrapped in a transparent circular energy field, intact. Susan, send me to the head of the big bug, I want to teach him a little lesson. The Stone Man said. Susan nodded with a hum, and the energy ball sent the Stone Man to the head of the big bug. Monster, it's time to teach you some lessons. The Stone Man flew onto the head of the big bug, and slammed his fist towards the big bug. Bang bang bang. As the Stone Man attacked, purple liquid splashed, and the liquid splashed on the Stone Man, instantly corroding his body into white smoke. Even though the Stone Man's body was extremely hard, holes were burned out by the strong acid. Sizzle. The big bug let out a series of roars, shaking his body violently. The Stone Man was unstable and fell from the big worm. Then the big worm raised its huge claw and stepped on it fiercely. Boom. The ground exploded and the gravel splashed. Monster, how well do you want to be roasted? The blazing fire appeared in front of the big insect, burning a raging flame in his hand, turning into a fire dragon and rushing towards the big insect with its teeth and claws. The big insect roared, and his huge claws protruded from the sea of fire, and patted him on his face in shock. With a muffled thunderbolt, the whole person turned into a ball of fire and fell from the air. Boom. There was a roar, and the fire was collapsed and buried by the building. The fire blazed into the sky, the rubble of the ruins was lifted out, and the thunderbolt came out of the ruins. At this time, a huge black shadow appeared above the thunderbolt fire. Advertisement. Damn it. Thunderbolt was taken aback, and immediately turned and flew away. With a bang, the big worm's paw slapped on the ruins. This big bug is too fierce. It's fiercer than the giant monsters we killed before. It's too fierce. Roar stunned with a thunderbolt. Our support is here. At this time, Mr. Fantastic's voice sounded. Support. We still have support. Pillahuo looked at the sky suspiciously. A harsh sonic boom sounded, and a golden light pierced the sky. Boom. The golden light hit the big bug, and a dull roar sounded, and the big bug's head burst open and turned into flesh and blood to splash on the ground. Boom. The body of the big worm crashed to the ground, and Li Wei stood on the corpse of the giant monster. Well done, Li, but we have already exhausted it for you. The fire leapt over Li Wei. Boom. At this moment, a meteor was across the sky and fell into the city. Here is another monster, said Thunderbolt. We have to kill this monster as soon as possible. Boom. Li Wei was a little in the air, and his whole body rushed towards the monster in the city. Oh, this monster was like a huge hippopotamus standing up, and in an instant, Li Wei came to the sky above the monster. Dead. Li Wei raised his fist, the roaring monster burst open, and his body collapsed to the ground. The Fantastic Four, with a little help from Li, hunted down two monsters. Pillahuo said in the sky. Thank you for your help, Li. Mr. Fantastic appeared beside Li Wei. I can't stay here, I still need me elsewhere. After Li Wei finished speaking, he rose up into the sky and disappeared into the distant sky. Chapter 186 Chapter 182. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Portland, Oregon. In the ruins of the city, lies the corpse of a giant monster. Standing on the ruins, Captain America Steve said, we still don't know exactly what we are dealing with. According to data collected around the world, every few minutes, somewhere in the world will be attacked by a wave of monsters. No matter how much we suppress, there will always be more monsters emerging. Wakanda has stabilized temporarily. Captain, I should be able to mobilize my army. At this time, a transparent video appeared in the sky, and an image of Black Panther appeared. Wait, I'm sorry, Captain, I seem to be too early. Another monster crashed into Wakanda, I'm afraid I have to report later. After that, Black Panther disconnected from the captain. Connection. How are the other captains on the front line? Can you hold it? The captain opened the connection, and a transparent video appeared in the air. The SHIELD Phil Coulson agent said, Captain, we have sent a SHIELD search and rescue team to assist you in rescuing civilians during an attack. Medusa, Queen of the Inhumans, said, we have received another report that two monsters have landed in Rome, and the Inhumans immediately intercepted them. Mutant Storm. We Roar called all contactable mutant teams to support this place. 5 or 6 monsters suddenly appeared here. Mr. Fantastic. We have solved the two monsters here with Lee's help, and can support nearby teams at any time. At present, the whole world is paying attention to this monster invasion. Due to the endless monster offensives, the heads of the world jointly issued a global emergency announcement. On the news, the battle of the superhero against the monster offensive was broadcast live. Advertisement. Superhero from all over the world, together form the first line of defense. But the disaster level is shocking, with more new monsters falling from the sky every minute. Some people claim that this is the end of the world. Springfield, Missouri. The boy K. Kuwait's home, in his room, was filled with strange creatures. These creatures were like semi-machine creatures with animal characteristics. They were about the same height as ordinary people and surrounded the boy. You're a ruthless character, aren't you? The boy painted a monster synthesized by a machine and a creature. With a blindfold and a laser gun, no one dares to offend you. If they are interesting, I think I need someone like you to protect me. The boy continued to paint. Huh, what's the matter? At this moment, the monsters beside the boy made strange howls and all looked to the window. You said, there is someone outside. The boy approached the window, and he opened the window, but there was no one. Interesting, isn't it? At this moment, a voice rang behind the boy. Who are you? The boy was startled, and he immediately turned around. This is a man in a red cloak. You allow yourself to be surrounded by monsters, but I can be surprised. I'm not sure if you should say this or I should say it. Dr. Strange looked at the strange boy. Eye of Agamotto guided him to find here, the chosen one of the mysterious power. What are you going to do? The boy backed away, and the monsters beside him stood in front of him. Definitely is here to investigate the monster incident. Dr. Strange said. Advertisement. ... Portland, Oregon. Kaow. A giant sky monster roared strangely, and a flame was ejected from its big mouth in the blood basin, and it rushed towards the superhero on the ground. Everyone, be careful. Captain Steve ran across the street quickly, avoiding the monster's attack. Wherever the flame went, whether it was a building or the ground, it was instantly burnt red. Crack. The silver lightning roar screamed in the sky. Thor flew into the sky and landed on the sky monster, and the hammer Mjolnir smashed down at the monster. At the same time, countless lightning strikes down. Oh! The sky monster wailed in pain and slammed towards the city building. Oh! No! Thor shook his hammer and leapt towards the distant sky. Boom! The building collapsed, the fire blazed into the sky, and thick black smoke filled the city. Whoosh! At this time, an arrow shot into the eyes of the sky monster like lightning, then exploded, and the flesh and blood splashed. The sky monster roared and rushed towards the building where Hawkeye Barden was located. Boom! Under the collision of the sky monster, the building was crumbling, and finally collapsed under the impact of the monster. Hawkeye Barden drew an arrow and shot it towards the nearby building. There was a small rope on the arrow. Hawkeye slammed into the glass of the building and plunged into the building. Boom boom boom. A burst of explosion sounded. Iron Man Tony leapt across the sky, and miniature missiles shot at the monster. We can't win this battle. Look at the sky. At this moment, Thor came to Captain Steve's side. Advertisement. As Thor said, meteors appeared in the sky. These meteors fell into the city, and then there was a roar. Countless monsters appeared. Look at the sky, the Avengers. Iron Man Tony said. All the Avengers looked up and saw a fighter plane appear. Support is coming. In the fighter plane, heroes appear one by one. Li Wei, Spider-Man Peter, Spider-Man Myers, Spider-Gwen, Cindy Cobweb, Dianguang Man. Everyone, here we are, let's give these guys a fierce counterattack. Li Wei took the lead in rushing towards the monster. The one chosen by Li Wei as the target was a giant humanoid monster with thick scales on his body and 6 scarlet eyes on his head. Bang! Li Wei raised his fist and bombarded the monster's head. With a dull sound, the monster's head was twisted, and 6 more fragile eyes were squeezed and exploded by the twisted head. The monster wailed and collapsed on the ground with a bang. Spider-Man, let me tie up this monster. Spider-Man Peter leapt beside a monster with the spider team. Cobwebs shot out one after another, wrapped around the monster's head. Under the dense cobweb shot of the spider squad, the monster's head and feet were also wrapped, and it collapsed to the ground with a bang. Crack! A bolt of lightning came, and Max, the electric light man, was suspended in the city, and there was a dense electric current in the city. This guy controlled the electric current in the city, gathered on him, and then shot with a thunder halberd. After coming out, it pierced the head of a monster in an instant. Roar! The monster screamed sternly, and the thunder halberd instantly burst into dense electric current, instantly burning the monster's head to black, and its body collapsed to the ground. Chapter 187 Chapter 183. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Boom bang bang. The gunfire was fierce, and on the street, Deadpool flew in the air, spinning in a circle, avoiding the attack of a tentacle monster, and the gun in his hand shot the monster fiercely. Personally, I am very happy that you can invite me together. I mean, I don't have a chance to see death clearly in my eyes every day. Very sweet, really. When you know how high the mortality rate is in our business, you will definitely think so. Wade, the king of mouth guns, also came here with Li Wei and the others. In fact, no one invited him. Only when he saw Spider-Man, he followed. Everyone, a wave of monsters has landed. At this moment, Steve's voice sounded. Boom. With a roar, monsters gathered from the street and appeared in everyone's eyes. Roughly speaking, no less than 20 or 30 monsters appeared this time. Captain, I think you are overjoyed. At this moment, Li Wei flew up to Steve. Happy? I don't think so much. Steve said. Look at the captain over there. As Li Wei pointed out, monsters appeared in the distant street. The monster that everyone can count clearly is no less than a dozen monsters. Behind these monsters, there are monsters behind. I saw it. Steve's face was heavy. I saw it too, it was F-Ked. Iron Man Tony flew down and fell beside them. Do you want to pay attention to the civilized language? Spider-Man Peter and Miles flew from the building and appeared in front of the 3 of them. FK it, little Spider-Man, they surrounded us. Tony said. Advertisement. Should I have a pre-war mobilization? Thor fell on the ruins aside. Avengers, get ready to fight. Steve picked up the shield. Wait. At this moment, Li Wei stopped everyone. What's wrong, Li? This is not the time to express emotions. Iron Man Tony looked at Li Wei. Look, Li Wei pointed to the monster group that appeared earlier, the first group of monsters, they ignored us. Boom. The monsters that appeared in the first group crossed the superhero, walked towards the second group of monsters, and then fought together. With the battle between the two groups of monsters, the buildings in the city collapsed. The center of the battle between the two groups of monsters immediately turned into ruins. Among the first group of monsters, there is a green dragon-like creature, which ejects flames from its mouth and rushes towards the second group of monsters. For these arrogant ghosts, long before they arrived, we tried to save this sad and tiny world. The green dragon attacked the monster in front of him, with huge amounts of claws slapped on the body of the enemy monster. Today, we are going to fight to protect the Earth, said the green dragon. These monsters are helping us. Spider-Man said, surprised. Not only him, but everyone present was surprised. It looks like this, Li Wei said. A classic cinematic twist. Captain Steve said, the fate of the world hangs by a thread, either a claw or a monster's tentacle. Their fighting has caused a lot of damage to the city. Spider-Man said. Leave the monsters to solve, concentrate all the manpower, and evacuate all the citizens. Steve said. SHIELD came to support, Captain. Helicopters flew in the sky. The Phil Coulson agent's helicopter landed, and he came with a team of rescuers. Ho 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 ho. As the two monsters started fierce hand-to-hand combat, in the end, one side won. Fortunately, the winning monster is the one that did not attack the humans. The gods are up. The monster defeated another group of monsters. Thor said, but what do we do now? Advertisement. Did we win, or just started the war? In front of everyone is a giant monster with its teeth and claws. Let go of your crude weapons. We are not here to attack you, humble ground crawlers. The green dragon said, I am an extraordinary dragon. Well, guys, I can't believe it, I will say that, listen to the extraordinary dragon. Captain Steve said, I hope you can understand our anxiety, but it seems we owe you a thank you. We don't need your gratitude, we are not fighting for your benefit. Extraordinary Dragon's voice was deafening. Then maybe I can ask, who is it? As soon as Steve's voice fell, the Extraordinary Dragon and a group of giant monsters gradually disappeared. They disappeared. Spider-Man said. What just happened? Thor asked. I'm not sure, but I'm happy to find out. Steve said. Good news, everyone. At this time, the Phil Coulson agent came over. According to our latest news, monsters are still attacking all over the world. But for now, there are no meteors in the sky. We have gained some breathing time, use it wisely. Very good. Steve nodded, and he looked at the Phil Coulson agent, but I still need you to investigate where the other group of monsters came from. I think, maybe I can provide you with a little clue. At this moment, a voice sounded behind everyone. A red vortex portal appeared, and Dr. Strange Stephen walked out. Doctor, you must have investigated it clearly. Li Wei stepped forward. Yes, I have found out where they came from. Stephen nodded. What the hell is going on? Li Wei asked. Let's go, Li, you'll know when you go to Rainbow Island. Dr. Strange said. ... Advertisement. Rainbow Island. After helping the superhero team all over the world to solve all the monsters, all the hero teams, superheroes gathered on Rainbow Island. Avengers, Captain America Steve, Thor, Iron Man Tony. Fantastic Four's Mr. Fantastic, Thunderbolt, Invisible Woman, Stone Man. X-Men's Wolverine Logan, Angel Warren, Iceman, Colossus. The Inhuman Queen Medusa, Crystal, Hellfire. Li Wei, Spider-Man, Dianguang Man of the Heroes Association. Deadpool Wade. In the Villa Hall, many superheroes gathered together, it was really crowded. On the sofa in front of the TV, there is a boy sitting. He draws in the notebook, and then those monsters will become reality. How could he control so many monsters? A group of superheroes began to discuss. Doctor Strange tells everyone that the monsters currently appearing on the Earth, the monsters that help humans fight another group of monsters, and the extraordinary dragon leader, were summoned by this 11-year-old boy Gui. Is he the culprit who caused those monsters to fall from the sky? Steve asked. On the contrary, I think Gui may be our hope to stop them. Doctor Strange said. ... Chapter 188 Chapter 184. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. How is this going? Where is our son? In the hall, a scarlet vortex portal appeared, and a man and woman walked out of the vortex portal. Don't worry, Hugh is fine now. Doctor Strange said, and he pointed to the boy on the sofa. Look. Hugh. The boy's parents quickly walked over. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom and Dad. Boy K said. I know you are very excited, but he needs to prove his ability. Doctor Strange said at this time. Verify. The boy asked. Yes, draw a monster, draw an extraordinary dragon, and prove to them your ability. Doctor Strange said. No, this won't work. It doesn't like being painted by me. He said he would eat me when he saw me again. The boy said. Then you can draw anyone. Doctor Strange said. The most important thing now is to verify the boy's ability. The boy picked up the drawing book and painted on it. The space fluctuated, and a humanoid monster appeared in the hall. Wow, it's amazing, Miles said in surprise. No matter what monster you draw, it will show up, right? Steve stepped forward and asked. Yes, almost. But many monsters have a bad temper. They don't like being summoned by me. Kay said. Advertisement. What about other things? For example, if you drew me, will I appear too? Steve asked. I don't know. Superhero is not easy to draw. Besides, I like monsters. What if you drew a dead monster? Li Wei said suddenly. Dead? You mean to kill them? No, I definitely don't want to do that. The boy said, if you want to know the limits of my ability, I'm afraid I can't help, I don't know very well. I can answer this. At this moment, the boy's parents spoke. It's the fog, Tarragon's fog, it has swept over us. At that time, Kay was blown by the mist, and soon after, the cocoon wrapped him. When he broke out of the cocoon, he had this ability. The teenage mother said. This child has gone through Tarragonization. He is a stranger. At this moment, Medusa, the queen of strangers, walked out in surprise. Queen Medusa has long red hair that can be dragged to the ground. This long hair is said to be harder than steel and is her main attack method. She wears a red tights to reveal the exquisite curves. Yes, I think so. The boy's mother nodded. In the beginning, Kay was not unusual. We thought he might not have changed. When the first monster appeared, we didn't connect it. We moved only because my boss's business went bankrupt. I got a new job in St. Louis, but when the second monster appeared, we gradually saw the connection. We realized that he could summon those monsters, but we weren't sure what to do. We have moved many times, and I guess we are expecting him to gradually get rid of that thing as he grows, no matter what it is. The identity of a foreigner is not something that can be swiftly gone. To be honest, I believe that Kay will usher in a major mission, said Medusa, the queen of foreigners. Okay, don't confuse our appetite, obviously you have something to say. Everyone said. Even if I am the queen of the alien race, it is not enough to tell this story. We need someone who knows the darkest alien legend. Medusa looked at Karnak, an alien man behind him. Karnak is a bald head. He is wearing a green robe with some green stripes on his face. Advertisement. Understand that everything you know about Inhumans, all footnotes, all legends, are just a drop in the ocean, Karnak said. This is a legend of alien races in the universe. They are aliens living on distant planets. The alien races of the universe have helped other races to open up territories. They will find refuge for them and make them settle down safely. They will build magnificent cities to help them thrive until the end. Karnak continued. The great monsters descended from the sky. Their purpose is to exterminate the race and clear the surface. To welcome the queen's arrival. Mother Giant Monster. A terrifying interstellar monster, a natural disaster, will wake up every thousands of years, looking for planets that can be used to plunder, destroy and build nests. But there is a warrior who has stepped forward and transformed himself into the Great Wall of Steel against the tide of darkness. It is said that the birth of a foreigner is often accompanied by their own goals, but no one is more important than the foreigner's responsibility. She can go to deep space, or draw a star map in front of her, and all kinds of monsters are summoned from all over the universe. It's nice to know this. Iron Man Tony nodded, and he asked, but what I want to know the most is how did this warrior defeat the Troll Master in the end? Don't rush to make an assertion. Karnak said, I didn't say she won. So this great warrior failed to defeat the Troll Master Mother, and now it's attacking the Earth, and the stranger who was supposed to save the world is only an 11-year-old boy. Iron Man Tony said. Exactly. Karnak the other person nodded. It looks like this screenwriter is not very good. Deadpool Wade suddenly complained. Wade, I know you can know some impossible secrets for everyone present, but don't show off your ability, you are not the only one. Li Wei showed a strange smile. This strange smile, among all the heroes on the scene, only Deadpool could understand, combined with what Li Wei said. Advertisement. You know. Deadpool looked at Li Wei strangely. True is false, and false is true. How do you know that the world above the highest is real? Perhaps, the world above the highest is also one of the many infinity. So, you don't have to worry. Infinite. Deadpool murmured. All the superhero in the room looked at them strangely. If they had not known them before, they might have regarded these two people as insane. Everyone, although I don't want to interrupt your meeting, I think it is necessary for me to inform you of what happened. At this time, a black man walked into the villa with a bald head. Shield Commander, Director Nick Fury. What happened, Chief? Steve asked. If Director Nick can come here in person, it must be a major event that even Director Nick can't handle. Look at it. The director of Holoden turned on the phone and pulled out videos one by one and put them in the air. This is the image detected by our satellite in outer space, and the second wave of monsters is coming. In the video, everyone can see that the dense meteor shower is rushing towards the Earth. It is now almost entering the atmosphere, and the number of monsters far surpasses the group of monsters that the heroes battled with before. Captain, give orders. The battle has already begun. Li Wei looked at Steve. Chapter 189, Chapter 185. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Okay. Steve looked at the superhero in the villa and said, everyone, the survival of the Earth depends on you. The two Spider-Man and the foreigner Canuck stayed to protect the boy K. The others attacked, flexibly, and found the monster's attack point. They immediately rushed to defend, keep in touch, and support the friendly team at any time. Captain Steve looked at Nick Fury and said, Director, this disaster is no longer a disaster that can be resisted by a single country. I need you to convince the World Council to command the troops of each country in a unified manner to cooperate with the heroes. That's okay. The director of Salted Egg nodded solemnly, he acted vigorously and immediately turned and left. Finally, Steve looked at the boy Q. Q, you have the power to summon monsters, so please summon monsters at will and fight with the heroes. Okay, I will try my best. The boy nodded. Everyone, it's going to war, let's go. Steve said with a torch. Let these monsters regret coming to the Earth. Li Wei waved his cloak, striding out the meteor first, and a group of superheroes followed him closely. Soon, Li Wei and Sandman Mark, Spider-Man Peter Parker, and Green Goblin Harry came to Brooklyn, New York City. In the city, meteors fell one after another, and a large number of giant monsters appeared. Boom! With the deafening roar, the tall buildings were turned into ruins, and giant monsters with strange shapes appeared on the city streets. Fortunately, the citizens of New York City have been evacuated under the arrangement of the government, and there are basically no citizens in the city. Oh. Crack la 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 la. The trolls roared, their claws randomly destroyed in the city, and the buildings were suddenly riddled and crumbling. Roar. A roar sounded. At the top of a building, a two-headed flying dragon monster landed on the building, ejecting an energy ray from its mouth, and with a bang, the energy ray immediately penetrated several buildings. Advertisement. The building collapsed, and a sandstorm swept around. Monster. Not allowed. Destroy in my city. Above the sky, a golden lightning struck past, and in an instant it came to the double-headed flying dragon. Boom. A punch came out, a roar howl of tearing air sounds sounded, followed by two dull sounds. The two heads of the double-headed dragon exploded one after another, and the body fell towards the ground. The wind and sand filled the city, and Mark Sandman transformed into a sand giant about 30 or 40 meters tall, and fought fiercely with a giant monster. The sand giant hit the monster with a punch. As the monster wailed, the sand giant attacked more and more fiercely, knocking the giant monster to the ground with one punch, and then turned his arm into a giant sword, directly smashing the monster's head. Cut it down. Ho ho. At this moment, two monsters rushed towards the sand giant. The sand giant was not afraid at all. He rushed over, turned to avoid the monster's attack, and the giant blade in his hand pierced into a monster's chest extremely violently. Go to death. The other arm of the giant sand also changed into a giant blade. When another monster attacked him, it pierced the monster's waist fiercely, and directly cut the monster in half. Let's teach these monsters a lesson together. Spider-Man Peter stood on the shoulder of a red monster. This is the monster summoned by Boy K. Spider-Man and this red monster cooperate happily and have defeated 3 giants. This red monster was like a standing crocodile. There was a huge amounts of tail hammer at the end of its tail. This tail hammer killed 2 monsters, and there were still pieces of meat and blood on it. Boom. Suddenly, a larger monster rushed from the side of the street, slapped its huge amounts of claws on the red monster, and knocked it directly to the ground. Hey KHA. The monster grinned and roared. Just as it was about to launch an attack, the Spider-Man flew in the air, shooting Cobweb in his hand, grabbing the monster's claws, and rescuing the red monster who was fighting alongside him. Advertisement. Stop. Big guy, don't bully reptiles. Spider-Man flushed, struggling to hold on to the troll. Compared with the giant monster, the Spider-Man's body can be described as small. But the power of Spider-Man is not small. The claws of the giant monster are firmly fixed by Spider-Man and can't move the slightest. The red monster took the opportunity to break free of the giant monster's control, slammed forward and knocked the giant monster to the ground. Immediately, the huge tail hammer behind him slammed down the monster's head, and with a bang, the monster's head was smashed into a pool of blood and mud, ending the life of the monster. Happy cooperation. Spider-Man leapt onto the shoulder of the red monster, and the red monster responded with a deafening roar. The fire blazed into the sky, a fire dragon flooded the street, and the giant monsters wailed in pain. Hey, big guy, pay attention to where you are breathing. Spider-Man came to the shoulder of Extraordinary Dragon. Pay attention to the direction in which you jump. Extraordinary Dragon's voice sounded like a thunder roar. Boom 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 boom. On the street, a golden flash of light rushed past, and each of them collapsed to the ground wailing. The cause of their deaths was that their chests were pierced, or their heads were blown out. With golden flashes floating in the air, Li Wei waved his cloak, blood spattered, and the blood on his body evaporated immediately. Rainbow Island. Boy K was sitting in the hall, the paintbrush was waving in his flexible fingers, and the monsters were drawn by him. There are too many. The boy's cheeks were covered with fine sweat. As the monsters painted out, these monsters were immediately assigned to the battlefield by him. More trolls appear every minute, even every second. Advertisement. I can't hold on, my head feels dizzy. The boy said. I know you think I am destined to stop the trolls or something, but I am not ready yet. Keep calm, Hugh. Karnak comforted the other person. Don't worry about the so-called fate, don't stop at what happened, you are here at the moment. The present is the problem. Once this moment has passed, you should think about the next moment. Spider-Man Myers came and patted the boy on the shoulder. He said, if you had enough time, you should have received the most rigorous training and hone your skills. Just like us, we practice how to fight the enemy every day. But now, time is a luxury for us. You will succeed, Gui. Little Nicole comforted from the side. This boy, who is only 11 years old and a few years younger than her, will play a pivotal role in this war to save the world. I have never used ability like this to send monsters to the world. The boy said dizzily. These are your abilities, they are part of you, let your ability guide your mind. Karnak said. I'm not fast enough. The paintbrush in the boy's hand was flying quickly on the paper. The above are simple black and white lines, but these simple lines have brought a powerful force to this war. Chapter 190 Chapter 186 I will defeat it. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Golden City, Wakanda. Sizzle Loro. Sizzle. The meteor fell, and giant monsters descended from the sky and appeared in the city. Stop that giant monster. Storm roared in the sky, and lightning bolts fell, impacting on the monster's body, and the monster wailed. The cold wind was blowing, the ground began to freeze, and ice cones appeared on the street. Iceman moved along these ice cones, and extremely cold air waves sprayed from his hands, and a giant monster that appeared in the street was frozen by the cold air. I'm Colossus. At this moment, Colossus behind Iceman rushed towards the monster. Colossus kicked his legs on the ground, and he leapt up towards the monster, hitting the monster's head with a punch. With a click, dense cracks appeared on the monster's head, fragmented, huge amounts of body crashed to the ground. Good job, brother. Iceman and Colossus high-five. Boom. Suddenly, a tentacle lashed down at the two, rubble splashed, and the two of them flew away. Iceman's figure is flexible to avoid the attack of this huge tentacle, spraying a lot of cold air in his hand, and freezing the tentacle when the tentacle is about to hit him. Should I be like these young people, shouting that I am Wolverine, so I am more powerful? Wolverine leapt down from the building and landed on a monster's head, with sharp adamantium steel claws on the monster's head. After the cleavage, the monster's two antenna-like tentacles were cut off, and the viscous liquid sprayed out. The two tentacles severed by Wolverine had monster eyes. Losing their eyes, the monster wailed and ran across the city. The fierce battle is still going on. The second wave of battle is obviously a total offensive launched by the monsters. The number of monsters is increasing, and monsters are attacked all over the world. Cairo, Egypt, Tokyo, Japan. Advertisement. Cape Town, South Africa, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Everyone, the team in Tokyo, Japan has been besieged by a large number of monsters. Now they are asking for support. Can anyone be free to take action now? At this moment, Captain Steve's voice resounded in the communication. Let me go, Captain, now only I have the ability and speed to support them quickly. Li Wei's voice sounded. Okay, Li, then they will be supported by you. You have to fight quickly, because there are other teams waiting for support. There are too many monsters. Only you can stop them. New York City. As soon as Steve's voice fell, Li Wei looked at the Spider-Man and said, I'm going to support the team in Tokyo, Japan. Can you support it? Don't worry, I have a good time working with this big guy. Spider-Man said that under him was the extraordinary dragon. Okay. As soon as the voice fell, there was a burst of sound, and Li Wei rose up into the sky, turning into a golden light and disappearing into the distant sky. Dot 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 dot. Hugh, you can do it, come on. Miles encouraged. In front of a few of them, there is a transparent video projected in the air, which is the live broadcast of the superhero-resisting monsters in the front lines all over the world. I didn't stop, but a wave of unrest occurred again. Every time you defeat a giant monster, 2 other monsters will appear. The boy Gui slipped a drop of sweat on his cheek. Their offensive is desperate. We shocked the monsters, they were terrified, and you shocked the superhero, said Karnak. Advertisement. The language shows that you will stand up and stop the evil. You were born to face a strong enemy, K. He said. Come on, I didn't face anyone directly, I'm just sending monsters to die for me, they might die there, but I'm hiding in this safe place comfortably. The boy said. This responsibility is too great. Hugh's parents said, he is just a child. Your son has done a great job, Mrs. Kuwait, said Karnak, another person. Yes, Hugh did a great job. Miles pointed to the picture in the video and said, look, Hugh's monsters have made huge amounts of contributions. They are fighting off those monsters and fighting for the masses. Look for bunker and evacuation opportunities. Any place seems impossible, there will be heroes. Karnak the foreigner said calmly. Dot 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 dot. Tokyo, Japan. The flames soaring into the sky, thick black smoke filled the city, the prosperous city center has been turned into ruins at this moment, and giant monsters are screaming and destroying in the city. Fighting with these monsters is the second team of the Heroes Association, Max Dennis, Eddie Venom, Gwen Spider, and Cindy Cobweb. Damn, these monsters are too many, I'm almost exhausted. Max, the electric light man, shouted while floating in the air. He was wearing a simple armor with a circular energy halo in the middle of the armor chest. At this moment, the circular halo was shining with electric light, and then an energy column impacted away. The giant monster in front was immediately pierced through the chest and crashed to the ground. Spider-Gwen and Cobweb Cindy cooperated with the monsters summoned by Boy K and defeated each monster. The giant monster's offensive is extremely fierce in this city, a large number of monsters appeared in the city, and a meteor shower fell in the sky. Boom. The mansion was dumped, and an octopus-like monster was beating wildly in the city, turning an area into ruins. Oh my god, how can this monster be defeated? Advertisement. Gwen and Cindy were stunned. The giant octopus was huge, and its dense tentacles directly strangled the monster summoned by the 2 boys. All defeat it. On the street, a black burly figure quickly rushed towards the octopus monster. Eddie the Venom roared, his legs were on the ground, and he leapt fiercely towards the octopus monster. At this jump, at a distance of hundreds of meters, the Venom Eddie appeared on the head of the octopus monster. The octopus monster made a howl of piercing the eardrum, and the huge amounts of tentacles slapped towards the Venom Eddie. The Venom dodges the attack of the octopus monster, and the arm transforms into a giant blade, which slashes past, cutting off the tentacles of the octopus monster. Eddie the Venom grinned and snarled, and the blade arm pierced into the head of the octopus monster. The monster wailed, and the giant tentacles lashed towards the Venom Eddie frantically. The venom rolled on the head of the monster to avoid the attack of the giant tentacle, and then the arm slashed past, and another giant tentacle was severed. Suddenly, countless giant tentacles rushed frantically at the Venom. Eddie's pupils narrowed, and when he was about to avoid it, Gwen Spider and Cindy Cobweb appeared. Cobweb shot out from the hands of the 2 of them, firmly fixing the giant tentacles. Good job. Venom praised them, and his arms began to swell, transforming into a larger blade, and piercing the octopus monster's head fiercely. The Venom roared and ran down, the giant arm knife pulled a huge amounts of scar on the monster's head. The head of the octopus monster was directly cut in half, and all the giant tentacles collapsed to the ground weakly. Chapter 191 Chapter 187. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. We succeeded. The 3 said with joy. Perhaps not. From a distance, the voice of Electro-Optical Max came. The 3 of them looked up and saw a huge amounts of humanoid monster approaching, and the huge octopus monster was a little smaller in front of it. Boom boom boom. As the humanoid monster moved around, the ground vibrated, and huge amounts of paws were shot at the 3 of them. Boom. With a loud explosion, under the power of terror, a huge pit appeared on the ground. The gravel splashed, and a gust of wind swept out towards the surroundings, flying the 3 of them away. Damn it. Venom leapt forward, jumping out hundreds of meters. At the same time he jumped out, the monster's huge amounts of claws were patted, and a building was turned into ruins with a bang. Boom boom boom. As the humanoid monsters attacked, buildings were turned into ruins. Venom Eddie, Spider-Gwen, and Cobweb had no ability to resist this humanoid monster. This is no longer they can deal with monsters. The electric man in the sky gritted his teeth, and a large amount of electric current burst out from his body. Among the few people present, only he has the power to kill this monster. My strength can only be this blow. The electric man flew towards the human-shaped giant, and his body was wrapped in dense electric arcs. Go to hell, monster! Max roared, and a beam of energy shot out from his chest, hitting the human monster's chest. Rumble. The humanoid monster collapsed to the ground suddenly, turning an urban area into ruins, and a puff of sand and dust rushed out toward the surroundings. Did you succeed? Dianguang Man appeared weakly on the roof of a building, and the electric current in his body was much dim. Oh! A roar that resounded through the sky came, and the human-shaped giant monster's claws flapped. Suddenly a building collapsed, and the giant monster got up from the ground. Advertisement. Boom bang bang. The human-shaped monster walked towards the electric man. The ground couldn't bear the monster stepping on it, and cracks appeared. Boom. The giant humanoid waved its paws casually, and the building next to it boomed, and suddenly broke. It's over. Max let out a startled roar, backing back again and again. The exhaustion of energy made him unable to quantize his body. He had to rely on only a little electric current strengthening of his physical fitness, and leap from building to building on two legs. Boom. There was another loud noise, and a gap appeared on the top of the building before Max, and rubble splashed. No need to look back, Max also knows that the human troll is very close to him. Suddenly, there was a roar whistling wind behind him, and Max suddenly fell on the building. He immediately got up, and at this moment, a cloud of shadow enveloped him. Max turned his head to look, and saw the monster huge amounts of paws patted at him. This time it was really over. Boom. Blood spattered, and a terrifying wind pressure shook Max back and forth again and again, slamming his ass to the ground. He looked up and saw how familiar the cloak flying in the air was. It's okay, Li Wei said to Max, turning his head. Definitely. Max shrugged. Roar. The humanoid monster roared, one of its paws had been smashed, and the other was smashed at Li Wei. Boom. With a boom, Li Wei disappeared. The golden light flickered, and when it reappeared, Li Wei had already approached the humanoid monster and fisted out. Boom. The blood splashed, the head of the human-shaped monster burst open, the fragmented meat evaporated in the air, and the huge amounts of body collapsed to the ground with a bang, and a cloud of dust filled the city. Oh! At this moment, a roar resembling a thunderous roar sounded from behind Li Wei. Advertisement. Li Wei was surprised, he clearly remembered that there were no monsters behind him. Turning quickly, I saw a yellow light circle behind him. In this aperture, a green dragon came out. Extraordinary dragons don't like to be teleported around. It spoils the appetite of extraordinary dragons and loses face. From the light circle, it was Extraordinary Dragon, the leader of the monster side summoned by Boi Gui. Behind the Extraordinary Dragon, monsters walked out of the aperture, roaring. Roar. Extraordinary Dragon appeared from the aperture, ejected flames from the big mouth of the blood basin, and rushed towards the distant street, swallowing several monsters in the sea of fire. Now we have a dragon. Venom Eddie walked out of the ruins. New York City. Spider-Man Peter flew between the buildings, and behind him was a few flight monsters. It's gone, it's gone. Spider-Man screamed, who took our extraordinary dragon away? It's okay, Spider-Man. Captain Steve's voice sounded on the intercom. The kid in the villa moves the monster like a chess game. Where support is needed, the monster will move. Hugh must know that your battle is almost over, and he redistributed his troops. End. No, I think the battle has just begun. Spider-Man shot a cobweb with an electric current, electrotherapy the flight troll behind him, and then shot a cobweb on the flight troll's paw, and he leapt over. In the air, the flight monster was pulled down and slammed into the street fiercely. Tokyo, Japan. With the addition of Li Wei and the monsters of Extraordinary Dragon, the situation here gradually stabilized. This is the key landing area for the monsters. With the battle between the two monsters, this once prosperous city has been reduced to ruins. It is impossible to recover in a short time after the war. There are more than 30 monsters killed by Li Wei alone, not to mention the battle of the monsters like the Extraordinary Dragon. Captain, the situation in Tokyo, Japan has calmed down. Li Wei and Captain Steve connected. Finally, there is good news from a team. Unfortunately, the monsters' offensive is still going on and there is no sign of slowing down, Steve said. Advertisement. Lee, the team in Germany needs support, can you go? Steve asked. I'm leaving right away, Li Wei said, but maybe Kay can help me. In Rainbow Island Villa. Friends, we lost. Those monsters are all over the world. But I don't have any monsters to draw anymore. Boy K put his head in his hands. Come on, kid, you have to start painting. the world is waiting for you. Saijin Kanak said. Monster Boy, start acting, you are the best. Miles said from the side. Monster Boy, we'll talk about the remuneration of this cool nickname later. Now you have to paint. The superhero has already begun to rout. They can't stop the tide of monsters. And you can help them. Meyer said. It's here. At this moment, behind a few people, a scarlet vortex appeared, and Doctor Strange walked out of the vortex. It has arrived. The final battle will begin here, and the fate of the world will be determined by this battle. Doctor Strange said. You mean it's coming? Karnak said with a solemn expression on his face. Yes, it's here. It won't be long. Can you ask, who's here? Myers asked confused. Mother Giant Monster. Chapter 192 Chapter 188 The Strongest Man on the Planet. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sao Paulo, Brazil. The Inhuman Queen Medusa, Inhuman Crystal, Hellfire, and some friendly monsters are being fiercely attacked by giant monsters swarming from all directions. Let's burn the monster again. Hellfire shouted, and his body burned with raging flames. Okay. Jingjing replied. She stepped forward quickly, a trace of flame appeared in her hands. The moment this flame appeared, it turned into a fire dragon and rushed towards the besieging monster. The Hellfire on the side sprayed hot flames with both hands and mixed with the flames of the crystal. Suddenly, the flames turned into an overwhelming sea of fire, tumbling towards the monster. Sizzle. Oh. With the wailing of giant monsters, one after another giant monsters twisted their bodies painfully in the sea of fire, and finally collapsed to the ground helplessly. A beautiful counterattack. Hellfire laughed. Be careful. At this time, the reminding voice of the Queen Medusa sounded behind the two. The sea of flames surged, and a giant tentacle stretched out from the flames, lashing towards the Hellfire and the crystal. Crystal took a half step back, and she fisted forward with one arm. Boom. In an instant, a raised rock stood up from the ground. Immediately afterwards, another rock bulged. Then, 3 roads, 4 roads. A full 8 rocks stood in front of the two of them. Boom. The giant tentacles lashed on the rocks, making a rumbling sound, and the rocks burst and splashed around. Boom. The last rock was slammed by the giant tentacles, bursting apart. Advertisement. Although the two of Hellfire and Crystal dodged in time, they were still flew out by the strong wind set off by the giant tentacles. The Hellfire smashed into a building, and the crystal slammed into a stone statue. Are you okay? Medusa flew to the crystal and helped her up. Fortunately, it's okay. Crystal wiped a trace of red blood from the corner of his mouth. Our line of defense is lost. Hellfire walked towards the two of them. Captain America said that there are already heroes supporting us, and they should be there soon. Medusa said. But what's the use of support? With so many monsters, we have failed. Crystal said dumbly. In the streets around the three of them, monsters that couldn't see their heads were rushing towards them, and the friendly monsters fell down wailing. Ho 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 ho. In the distance, there was a roar that resounded through the clouds. In the sea of fire, a giant figure appeared in the eyes of the three of them. This is a giant monster with the body of beast. It is huge, the height of a tall building, and its breath is extremely violent. His eyes were red, and there were a few giant tentacles on his shoulders, the tentacles that attacked the crystal just now. The giant monster has a pair of wings covering the sky on both sides of its back, and its limbs are strong and powerful. The mouth of the blood basin was full of sharp jagged teeth, and a drop of foul-smelling drool fell on the ground, and the ground was corroded by its saliva and white smoke was emitted. The two big scarlet holes stared at the Medusa and the three of them felt that their bodies sank, as if a mountain was pressing on them, and they were breathless. What kind of monster is this? It's not something human can contend with. The three were desperate. Although the previous giant monsters were powerful, they could still fight against them with the cooperation of the three and friendly monsters. But the giant monster in front of him, compared with the giant monster next to it, was like a newborn monster baby. Advertisement. Boom boom boom. The giant tentacles on the shoulders of the beast monster twitched frantically in the city. Suddenly, buildings collapsed, the area turned into ruins, and a sandstorm swept around. A friendly monster rushed towards the beast monster, and with a boom, a monster was flew out by the giant tentacles. Wow! With a wailing, a monster was overturned by the giant tentacles to the ground, and then stepped on by the beast monster. The head of the monster was suddenly smashed into flesh. Almost at the time when the three of them were surprised, the battle was over, and the friendly monsters wailed and fell under the attack of the beast monster. What to do? We lost. Hellfire looked at Medusa. Withdraw. This monster is no longer something we can resist, we are lost. Medusa immediately made a decision, this monster was not something the three of them could fight against. In order not to increase the casualties, she decided to retreat. The three immediately turned around, and suddenly, just as they turned around, roars rang out. The three of them turned around again, and on the side of the beast monster, an aperture appeared, and a huge figure emerged from the aperture. Extraordinary dragon is here. With a roar of thunder, a green dragon rushed out of the aperture. I will tear your body. The extraordinary dragon rushed towards the monster beast, slapped its claws on the head of the monster beast, knocked the monster beast to the ground, and then firmly held the monster. On the head of the extraordinary dragon, a human figure stands like a towering Mount high. The white cloak rose with the wind, and a ray of sunlight shot through the dark clouds in the sky and shot on the standing figure. Our support is here, Queen Medusa said. 3. It's been hard work. It's okay now, if you want to ask why. Human, if you stand on my head and speak again, I must eat you. Before Li Wei finished speaking, the roar of extraordinary dragon sounded. Advertisement. It's really a hot-tempered dragon. Li Weifei came to the front of the three Inhumans. Roar. With a roar, the extraordinary dragon was overturned to the ground by the beast monster, and then the giant tentacles held the extraordinary dragon's body and threw it towards the mansion. With a bang, the mansion fell and buried the extraordinary dragon. Li Wei twisted his neck, he walked towards the monster, and said, "There's one more sentence that I haven't finished just now. Because I am coming." When the voice fell, Li Wei fisted out with one arm. Boom. The fist rubbed the air and made a harsh sonic boom. Then, a dull sound sounded, and the huge head of the beast monster burst open, and the flesh and blood spattered in the city. Boom. Without his head, the huge body of the beast monster collapsed to the ground, stunned the three strangers behind him. Who is this guy? What a terrifying power. Hellfire asked in astonishment. He had never seen such a terrifying power on Earth. No, there is one person, that is, the patron saint of their alien race, the king of aliens. However, in his mind, the king of foreign people already belonged to the category of gods. I don't know, I rarely walk in the human world. Crystal shook his head, but the streamer turned in a pair of beautiful eyes, seemingly interested. He is the leader of a superhero team, very strong. The Black Bat King once told me that if there are any humans on Earth that can pose a threat to him, he will be the only one. Hellfire and Crystal were surprised when they heard Queen Medusa's words. Chapter 193 Chapter 189. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Black Bat King, a man who exists as a god in their hearts. To be able to make him say such a thing, it is enough to see the horror of this seemingly young human in front of him. With the arrival of Li Wei and the extraordinary dragon group of monsters, the monsters of Sao Paulo were annihilated. Captain, Sao Paulo is safe, all monsters have been annihilated. Li Wei and everyone began to connect. In front of him, there was a projection of Captain Steve, Wolverine and Mr. Fantastic. Our side is also stable. Wolverine said. Similarly, there are no more monsters falling on our side. Mr. Fantastic said. Everyone, it's not that no monsters landed, but that all the monsters ran to New York City. Steve said solemnly. As he turned the screen to the front, he could see dense meteors falling over New York City. On the ground, there are countless groups of giant monsters. There are also a large number of flight monsters in the sky. New York City has become a city of giants. Everyone, the final battle begins. The Avengers, Heroes Guild, and Humans, X-Men, gather. Boom. As Steve's voice just fell, the place where he was standing exploded, and Steve was thrown out. It looks like the situation is very serious. Li Wei looked at the three strangers beside him. Several ones, I'm going to take a step first. After speaking, Li Wei rose into the sky, turning into a golden light and disappearing into the distance. Advertisement. New York City. On the ruins, Captain Steve has a solemn face. Beside him are the Avengers Iron Man Tony, Thor, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, Hawkeye Barton, and the missing Hulk, who is now back. All the Avengers are here. In addition to the Avengers, there are Doctor Strange and Deadpool Wade. The people of the Heroes Association, Spider-Man Peter Parker, Electro-Optical Max, Sandman Mark, Venom Eddie, Green Goblin Harry, Spider-Gwen, Cobweb Cindy, and the Fantastic Four who rushed over. Behind many superhero, there are friendly monsters. Rumble. At this time, there was a deafening roar from the sky. The superhero looked up and saw a dark crack appeared in the sky above New York City. A huge amounts of scarlet paw appeared in this crack, and at the same time, there was a roar. As the sky cracks open, a huge monster emerges from the crack and falls into the city. Boom. The earth shook violently. The King of Trolls is here. Doctor Strange said solemnly. Roar. With a deafening roar, a mountain-like monster appeared in the city, and other monsters were like newborn babies in front of it. The monster is scarlet all over, and the body resembles a standing crab and a scorpion. There are 3 pairs of pliers around his waist, countless giant tentacles on his back, and dense eyes on his head. Boom. With a random shot of the giant pliers, the king of giant monsters, several buildings collapsed and turned into ruins in an instant. I don't think we can beat this big guy, Spider-Man said. Just a big size can't be spared by Thor's power, Thor said, raising his hammer. Advertisement. Everyone, whether we can defeat this monster or not, this is our last battle. I hope we can delay this monster, and I hope Lee can come in time. Steve and the King of Trolls looked at each other, and he stretched out his hand. Everyone, the battle begins. Immediately, Thor shook his hammer and took the lead to attack the King of Trolls. Monster, see the power of Thor. Thor roared, and the sky was covered with dark clouds, and silver lightning struck the King of Trolls. This planet completely irritates me, Monster whisper. The King of Trolls roared, and the giant pliers slapped Thor on Thor. Thor didn't even have time to react, just like a meteor falling towards the ground. Boom. Thor hit the ground fiercely, rubble splashing, and a cloud of dust was raised. Roar, roar. A roar sounded, and monsters rushed towards Thor on the street. Thor held up the hammer, Mjolnir, and the dense silver lightning in the sky impacted on the hammer. Thor clenched the hammer and shot forward. Crack. The silver lightning rushed towards the monster group in front of them in a dense array, and the monsters wailed and fell to the ground. Far away. Hiss. The electro-optical man's body immediately quantized, turning into an electric current and rushing out towards the king of giant monsters. Dianguang Man is very fast. While avoiding the attack of the King of Trolls, a pillar of thunder energy shot out from his chest, violently impacting on the King of Trolls. Go to hell, monster. With Max's roar, he continued to increase his energy, flashing dense arcs on the thunder energy column. What surprised Max was that the King of Trolls was not affected at all. Bang! A giant tentacle drew on Max's body with lightning speed. Max groaned, and the whole person turned into an electric current and fell towards the ground, hitting the ground fiercely. Roar. A roar sounded, and Hulk leapt on the ground, leaping directly towards the King of Trolls. Hulk's jumping ability was amazing, and in an instant, he jumped onto the head of the King of Trolls. Hulk smashed. Hulk roared, fist after fist. Advertisement. The King of Giant Monsters was very angry when a small bug leapt onto his head. After a roar, countless giant tentacles on the back lashed towards Hulk. Hulk roared angrily, grabbed a giant tentacle, pulled hard, and directly broke the giant tentacle. Even so, there were countless giant tentacles beating on Hulk. Several giant tentacles held Hulk's body, his 2 feet, 2 hands, and head, and then pulled hard, seeming to want to divide Hulk into his body. But the King of Monsters obviously underestimated the strength of this little monster. No matter how these giant tentacles pulled Hulk's body, Hulk was intact. Ho 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 ho. Suddenly, below the King of Trolls, there was a roar, and Hulks who looked like Hulk appeared, and crowded toward the King of Trolls. Roughly speaking, these Hulks appeared. No less than dozens. Those are all Hulk. After Captain Steve cooperated with Spider-Man to kill a monster, he and Spider-Man looked at the mysterious Hulk that suddenly appeared in amazement. A Hulk has already messed up the Earth. If dozens of Hulks appeared together, it would be fine. Also, where did these Hulks come from? Captain, although they are Hulk, they only have the same strength as Hulk. At this moment, behind Steve, a team of burly figures walked out. The leader is the burly Red Hulk, behind him are dozens of Green Hulk. All Hulk. Steve was trapped. Who can explain to him what happened? Why are there so many Hulks suddenly appearing? Chapter 194. Chapter 190. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. For the Hulk who appeared, Steve Rogers was blinded. In front of him is the burly Red Hulk. Behind the Red Hulk, there are at least dozens of Hulk. Are you? Steve looked at Red Hulk suspiciously. This is Thaddeus E. Rose. Red Hulk said. General Rose. It's very unlike you. What's the situation? Steve asked. He had dealt with General Rose several times. Although he didn't like General Rose's style, he was very concerned about this. He admires a pure soldier. These Hulks are super soldiers developed by our military. They have the power of Hulk, but they can only transform for 10 minutes. Red Hulk said, and I have the same power and physical strength as Hulk. Moreover, I can control the transformation at will and have self-awareness. Now, let's teach these monsters some lessons. Red Hulk roared, and joined the battle of the ground monsters with a group of his Hulk. With the support of Red Hulk and his Hulks, the invasion of ground monsters finally eased. These Hulks had a fierce offensive and their style of play was extremely violent. They jumped directly onto the monster's face and exploded with a hammer. After all, they have the power of Hulk. Now, the main crisis is the King of Trolls. How should this monster that cannot be defeated deal with This is a problem. Roar. As the roars sounded like a beast, dozens of Hulks jumped onto the king of giant monsters, frantically, Hulk smashing. Obviously, the king of giant monsters was irritated by these bugs that were buzzing in his ears. It roared, the huge amounts of pliers were pulled, and several Hulks were beaten out. Advertisement. Boom. The king of giant monsters' huge amounts of pliers smashed down, there was a loud roar, gravel splashing, blood bursting, and a Hulk was smashed into mud. Although these Hulks under General Rose have the power of Banner Hulk, it is clear that their physical strength is far from comparable to real Hulk. Everyone, start offensive, take out your fiercest offensive, I can provide you with a few seconds of moments. Doctor Strange flew into the air, and following his magic spell, arms appeared behind him, like Avalokitesvara with 1,000 hands. Ikene's trip. As Doctor Strange's magic was cast, duplications emerged from him, and then densely scattered across the sky. This is the first time that many superheroes have seen the power of Doctor Strange, and they are all surprised. However, what surprised them even more is still to come. Cetolix's Scarlet Chain. Following Doctor Strange's magic, all duplications held a scarlet energy whip and threw them towards the King of Trolls. Suddenly, whether it was the giant tentacles on the back of the Troll King, or the pliers of the Troll King, or its feet, head, and tail were all locked tightly by the scarlet chains on Doctor Strange's countless duplication hands. Everyone, what are you waiting for? This giant monster king is very powerful, and I won't be able to hold on for long. Doctor Strange said, flushed. Received. Thor and Max, the electric light man, responded, and the two rushed towards the King of Trolls. A few seconds, although short, can often determine the outcome of a battle. Especially for many powerful superhero. Thor roared, and he held up the hammer of Mjolnir. In an instant, thunder flickered in the sky, and silver lightning thundered down, half of it hit the body of the electric light, and the other half gathered on Thor's hammer. Ah! The two roared at the same time, Thor's hammer struck forward, and silver lightning rushed out, bombarding the King of Trolls. Advertisement. While the electric man's chest flashes an electric arc, the energy of the electric current crazily gathers in his chest. Boom! With a roar, a beam of thunder energy shot from his chest, bombarding the King of Giant Monsters. Boom boom boom. The King of Giant Monster backed back a few steps, and there were a lot of burn marks on his body. At the same time, countless Hulks furiously smashed the King of Monsters. Let's teach this monster a lesson. Iron Man Tony, Green Goblin Harry, and Thunderbolt flew in the air, attacking the King of Trolls. Boom boom boom. First Iron Man and Green Goblin, countless miniature missiles fired towards the King of Trolls, and then a wave of Thunderbolt fire followed. Boom. On the King of Monsters, bursts of explosions roared, splashing flame roses. Hi ka 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 ka. The King of Giant Monster roared deafeningly, and it broke free from Doctor Strange's control instantly, and the huge amounts of pliers swept toward the crowd in the air. Several people couldn't dodge, and they were blown away. Go out. Boom. Thor rushed behind him, and after shooting through the ruins of a building, he slammed into the ground fiercely, the rubble splashed, and a cloud of dust filled the surroundings. In the air, the giant tentacles lashed frantically, holding Iron Man Tony and Green Goblin Harry, and smashing them to the ground fiercely. Boom boom boom. The ground exploded, and rubble splashed. Sir, the armor is severely damaged. The voice of Jarvis reminded Tony that he had been violently attacked by the King of Trolls. Concentrate the energy on the hands. As soon as Tony's voice fell, an energy ray shot out from his palm, instantly cutting off countless giant tentacles. The foot engine started, and Tony skyrocketed. Before Tony had time to be happy, a shadow of huge amounts of clouded him. He looked up and saw that it was the King of Giant Monsters' huge amounts of pliers. Advertisement. Boom. Huge amounts of pliers hit Tony, and Tony fell diagonally. Then came the crazy blow of the King of Monsters. Boom. As the Troll King's pliers smashed down, the ground exploded and the dust was flying, and Tony was lifted out and rolled into the ruins. Among the ruins is Tony's body. His steel battle suit has been smashed to pieces by the King of Trolls. Tony hurriedly got up from the ground and quickly escaped from the attack range of the Troll King. But Tony immediately noticed that a shadow was covering his head. Tony ran and turned his head to look. It was the pliers of the King of Trolls. Boom. Before the King of Trolls smashed down, Green Goblin Harry flew past and rescued Tony from the pliers of the King of Trolls. Even so, the two were shocked by the generated shockwave and crashed into the rubble. Oh, my waist is about to break. Tony pushed a piece of cement slab away and lay on the ground panting. For the sake of saving me today, I won't hold you accountable for stealing my business. Quote. At the feet of the King of Trolls. A burly monster is roaring. Only that level. Monster. Invincible Hulk roared. Suddenly, the pliers of the King of Monsters fell, and with a bang, Hulk was smashed into the ground. Chapter 195 Chapter 191 Open black lens bracket is coming. Seeking subscription for monthly pass. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Boom. On the street, a giant wailed weakly and fell to the ground. Sandman Mark was standing next to the troll corpse. He turned to look at the Troll King in the distance, and then walked away. The wind and sand filled the surroundings, and Mark Sandman's body began to transform into sand, and the sand on the ground began to converge towards him. Not only sand, but also crushed gravel began to crazily converge towards him. As Sandman steps forward, his body is getting bigger and bigger, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, and finally a full height of hundreds of meters. But even so, the sand giant was still a few heads short in front of the giant monster king. Your opponent is me. The sand giant roared and rushed towards the king of giant monsters in the footsteps of Boom. The appearance of the giant sand attracted the attention of the king of giant monsters. It roared, and the huge amounts of pliers smashed down at the giant sand giant. Sand shield. The sand giant raised both hands, and a sand shield appeared, blocking the attack of the giant monster king. Boom. With a roar, the sand shield immediately collapsed, and the giant monster king's pliers hit the sand giant's head. The powerful force caused the sand giant's head to burst open suddenly. The sand giant held the pliers of the giant monster king with both hands, rushed forward, and his head gathered again. Sand sword. The sand giant swung out with one arm, and a sand sword about 100 meters long appeared in his hand and pierced towards the chest of the giant monster king. Dang Kang. Mars splashes. The sand giant's long sword pierced the chest of the giant monster king, but only a trace of sparks was left behind. Good job, big guy. At this time, Dr. Strange levitated on the shoulders of the sand giant. He began to squeeze the magic mudra in his hand, and the magical energy exploded from his hand. Advertisement. Bossat's Thunder. Dr. Strange shot his hands in the air, and the terrifying magical energy burst out in an instant, and the scarlet thunder and lightning rushed towards the king of trolls. The thunder of Basart played by Dr. Strange is different from the lightnings played by Thor the Lightning Man. The thunder of Basart is more like a flowing liquid, but the speed is too fast. Boom boom boom. Bossat's thunder hit the chest of the king of monsters, and then quickly spread from the chest of the king of monsters toward his body. Kaka kaka. The king of trolls roared in pain. Bossat's thunder's lethality was extremely terrifying, and the chest of the king of trolls was burned into pits. Obviously, Dr. Strange's attack caused heavy damage to the king of trolls. It was extremely angry, with countless giant tentacles on its back lashing frantically around, and huge pliers attacking Dr. Strange and the sand giant. Big guy, just attack him and leave the defense to me. As Dr. Strange said, he flew forward, and the mighty magical energy exploded from his body. Mirror dimension. Dr. Strange used his defensive magic, and a series of diamond-shaped transparent shields appeared in the space in front of him to form a wall. Boom. The Troll King's pliers slammed on the mirror dimension, making a roar, but it did not break Dr. Strange's magical defense. Seeing this, the giant sand stepped forward, and a giant sword of sand appeared in his hand, slashing towards the king of giant monsters. Dang Kang. Mars splashed, and the giant sword of sand left a trace on the king of monsters. I'll help you again. Dr. Strange flew back to the sand giant's shoulder, he cast a spell, and then patted the sand giant's shoulder. Vishanti's sacred sword. Spread. Dr. Strange's magical sword did not show the entity, but turned into a burst of energy wrapped around the giant sand giant's great sword. Take out your most violent attack. In a short time, your sword will cause him heavy damage. Dr. Strange flew forward and blocked the sand giant's attack from the Monster King. The giant sand nodded, and he launched an attack on the king of giant monsters, and the giant sword of sand slashed on the king of giant monsters. Blood spattered. This time, the giant sword of sand left a scar on the king of giant monsters. Wow! The king of giant monsters roared, and two huge amounts of pliers attacked the giant sand. Advertisement. Seraphine's shield. Dr. Strange flew forward and cast magic to block the sand giant's attack and create conditions for him to attack. The sand giant hurried forward, and the giant sword of sand pierced towards the chest of the giant monster king. Blood spattered, and the tip of the giant sand sword pierced into the body of the giant monster king. Hey kha. The sand giant's attack made the king of giant monsters completely angry. As it uttered a strange howl, a shining brilliance burst out from the mouth of the blood basin. Immediately, a terrifying purple energy ray burst out. Danger. This time, Dr. Strange flew directly into the distance. The energy ray of the King of Trolls is too fast, and he has no chance to cast magic at all. Boom. In an instant, the energy ray penetrated the chest of the giant sand. The sand giant backed away, his body was instantly cut in half by the energy ray. Boom. But it didn't stop there. As the deafening roar rang through the sky, wherever the energy ray went, it turned to ashes. The giant monsters, whether they are foe, are all wiped out under the energy rays. It's terrible. In the distant sky, the thunderbolt on a building showed a look of fear. The energy ray passed by him just now, and he was still more than 10 meters away, but the terrifying high temperature made his body feel a hot burning sensation. If you get closer, the thunderbolt will not doubt it. This energy ray can make him burn instantly. The giant sand body collapsed, he returned to his body, his eyes were bloodshot, and he knelt down on the ground. Did we lose? Steve was lying awkwardly in the rubble, one of his eyes was red and swollen and he couldn't open it. The tearing pain from his body told him that they had lost. There is not even a trace of strength in his body that can support him to get up from the ground. Advertisement. Not far beside him, Iron Man Tony and Harry fell in the ruins. Thor faced a blow from the King of Trolls and fell on the street, not knowing his life or death. In the ruins in the distance, Hulk, Stone Man, and Electric Light Man. They lost this extremely tragic war. There has never been a day when Steve was so desperate. Oh, in the distance, the roar of trolls came. Steve can still open one eye to look forward. Although it is far away, he is a superhuman and his eyesight can see clearly. On the street in the distance, a figure was walking towards them. The white cloak was flying in the air, and he walked toward this side step by step, but no giant monster could hinder his progress. The giant monsters within 10 meters of him all wailed and fell to the ground. He walked along with death and blood, but this kind of death and blood is what Steve would like to see. At this moment, Steve Rogers' desperate heart seemed to calm down. If there is anyone on this planet who can stop this monster, then there is no doubt that it is him. Steve suddenly felt a sense that as long as he came, all difficulties seemed to be solved. Not long after, the figure came to Steve Rogers. Behind him was bloody, full of giant monster corpses along the way. Chapter 196 Chapter 192. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Captain, the situation seems to be under your control. Li Wei walked over to Steve Rogers. Yes, still under control. Steve smiled. Get me up, I can fight again. Li Wei lightly pressed Steve's shoulder and said, it's okay, leave this guy to me. After speaking, Li Wei walked towards the King of Trolls. Along the way, the superhero lay in embarrassment on the rubble. When Li Wei walked to the feet of the King of Giant Monsters, the King of Giant Monsters seemed to feel something. He suddenly lowered his head and looked at the tiny human being. The King of Giant Monsters didn't care, it dropped huge amounts of pliers at will. Boom. With a loud explosion, the ground cracked. The rubble splashed, and a cloud of dust swept out towards the surroundings. Li Wei thrust his calf into the surface, but he lifted the Troll King's pliers with one hand. Upon seeing this, the King of Giant Monsters couldn't believe it, and once again lifted up the huge amounts of pliers and smashed it towards this tiny human under its feet. At this time, Li Wei punched. He fisted out with one arm, and there was a roar of tearing air sounds, and then with a bang, the King of Giant Monsters' huge amounts of pliers exploded in the air. Hi ka ka ka. The intense pain caused the King of Giant Monsters to let out a deafening roar. It raised its feet and stepped on Li Wei fiercely. Boom. With a boom, a golden light flickered in the dust and smoke, and Li Wei disappeared. The figure flickered, and when Li Wei appeared again, he was in front of the head of the King of Monsters. Boom. Li Wei raised his fist and blasted out towards the head of the King of Monsters. With a loud bang, the head of the giant monster king made a click, click sound, and cracks appeared on it, and the giant monster king was instantly knocked to the ground. Advertisement. Boom. There was a boom, and with the fall of the King of Monsters, this area was turned into ruins. Li Weifei went down and raised his fist. This was the last punch. This punch will kill. Sizzle. The King of Trolls let out a series of strange howls, its blood basin shining brightly in its mouth, and an energy ray impacted towards Li Wei. Boom. This energy ray bombarded Li Wei's body with lightning speed, and a terrifying burning sensation was transmitted from every inch of his body's muscles. Afterwards, Li Wei followed the energy ray and rushed out behind him. Boom bang bang. With the booming sound, Li Wei smashed through several buildings in a series, directly crossed New York City, and rushed towards the distant ocean. The power of the energy ray is extremely terrifying, even on the distant sea, it blows the sea into an abyss-like ravine, and the sea rushes in. Li Wei lay on the sea, his body scorched black. Suddenly, Li Wei opened his eyes. Standing on the sea, Li Wei waved his hand, and the scorched black body disappeared instantly. Li Wei squatted down, pressing his fist against the sea. Boom. Suddenly, the sea shook and a huge deep pit appeared. The powerful explosive force made Li Wei disappear in an instant, turning into a golden flash and rushing towards New York City in the distance. Almost in the blink of an eye, Li Wei had arrived in New York City, floating above the King of Trolls. The King of Trolls also found Li Wei, and it roared, and an energy ray blasted towards Li Wei again. Boom! The energy ray hit Li Wei's body directly, and the terrifying burning sensation struck again. Li Wei once again rushed out behind him, but this time, Li Wei only flew out for more than 10 meters and then stabilized, suspended in the air, holding the attack of the King of Giant Monsters. Nice strength. Li Wei stepped in the air, his figure didn't take a step back. But this seems to be the limit of your strength. The figure shook, and Li Wei disappeared. Must kill series. Advertisement. Seriously punch. Li Wei raised his fist and shot forward. Boom. There was a piercing roar, and a pair of vertical pupils showed fear in the King of Giant Monsters. Its blood basin sprayed out energy rays and struck towards Li Wei. Boom. However, with a bang, the body above the chest of the King of Monsters burst open, and the flesh and blood evaporated instantly. At the same time, a terrifying wind pressure rushed out towards the surroundings. There was no cloud over New York City. Boom. The remaining half of the giant monster king's body collapsed to the ground, throwing up a cloud of dust. Li Wei stood on the ruins, and the dilapidated city ushered in a glimmer of dawn. I knew it, if it were you, it would do. Thor lay on the ground, and he was awakened by the terrifying power. He was very lucky to see the scene where Li Wei punched and the scene where the King of Trolls fell. Look, I said that the boss is the strongest man on the planet. If he takes a shot, this big guy will definitely not be an opponent. At this time, Spider-Man Miles, Little Nicole, and the alien Karnak appeared on the street with the boy K. It's so cool, the boy said admiringly. How about it? Do you want to be a member of the most powerful team in the world? Train with us. Miles looked at the boy K coolly. Really? Can I? The boy asked. Definitely, I am one of them anyway. I recommend it, Miles promised, patting his chest. It's great, this is my dream. The boy almost jumped up excitedly. However, I am going to Taoist now. The boy walked toward the front, where the extraordinary dragon gathered with the belated monsters and the surviving monsters. This is inconsistent with the prophecy. The foreigner Canuck murmured. He looked at the man standing on the ruins ahead. This man, with absolute power, had broken the rule of fate. Thank you for your help. I know most of you want to conquer it, but what you did today is pretty good. In front of a group of trolls, Captain Steve. Stand up. Advertisement. Extraordinary Dragon looked at the boy and said, I warned you that this is a dangerous game. Your all or nothing work this time worked, but everything related to giant monsters needs to be on thin ice. Human, next time you call me again, I will eat you. A giant monster behind the extraordinary dragon pointed at the boy, as if a roaring sound sounded. After speaking, the bodies of these monsters began to become transparent, and then turned into some light spots and disappeared. It's over. Li Wei said, the next thing is to search for other giants hiding around the world. Then, Li Wei looked at K. Wait, it's you, K. The boy has the ability to summon monsters, which is not so easy to solve. If you can't control it, or fall into the hands of malicious people, it will pose a great threat to the world. Call me Monster Boy. Kuwait K said. Monster Boy. Yes, Monster Boy reports to you. Kuwait K said with 2 fingers on his brow. Myers said, he will recommend me to you and let me join you in training. Really? Then train with us in the future. Li Wei said, an 11-year-old superhero was born. Q, are you okay? At this moment, the boy's parents walked over quickly, and his mother picked him up. Mom, you embarrass me a little bit, the boy said. I do not care. But I am a superhero now. I don't care. Comma. Chapter 197 Chapter 193 Open black lens bracket Return of Hell. Close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. This time, with the superhero team fighting side by side, the world has once again returned to peace. The monster invasion is over. This war has brought severe trauma to all parts of the world. Especially New York City, Tokyo, Cape Town, South Africa and Sao Paulo, Brazil. These locations that were heavily attacked by the monsters were almost destroyed, and the cities were turned into ruins. It is almost impossible to restore prosperity in a short time. Rainbow Island. In the lobby of the villa, except for Levy, Miles and Little Nicole were not injured. Electro-Optical Max, Sandman Mark, Spider-Man Peter Parker, and Green Goblin Harry were seriously injured. All 4 of them were in wheelchairs, and it was impossible for them to perform heroic activities in a short time. Venom Eddie, Spider-Gwen, and Cobweb Cindy also suffered minor injuries to varying degrees. In the end, it was the curious 11-year-old boy K. Kuwait, who became a trainee hero of the Heroes Association. The youngest superhero. What is superhero? Boy K asked Li Wei. What is superhero? Li Wei murmured. This question is not easy to answer. After a while, he said, when you have ability, you have several choices. Choose to remain anonymous and be an ordinary person. If you choose to use ability to gain benefits, you will still be an ordinary person without harming others. But if you use ability to harm other people, then you are the villain we want to defeat. If you choose to use your own ability to help everyone, then it's superhero. Everyone has a choice, superhero, or ordinary people. Texas. I'm back again. I really miss the smell of fresh air. On a deserted highway, a man pushed a motorcycle. He walked in a waning pace, with a tired look on his face. At this time, a large truck came over from the highway. The man stopped the truck and walked off a hot woman. Wearing denim shorts, he seemed to burst a thin shirt on his chest. Advertisement. Look, you are like hell, the woman said, leaning on the truck. Yes, I really let you talk. The man said. Nice car, out of gas. The woman walked over. Definitely, that's exactly my purpose. The man nodded. Well, I can't help you much, I'm going to a truck station 90 miles away from here, so do you want to take a ride? The woman said. But, my car. Think about it, Johnny, who would steal it? The woman looked at the man. The man smiled, and then suddenly stepped forward and pinched the woman's neck. How do you know my name? Johnny Blazer roared. Remove your hand from me. A desert eagle appeared in the woman's hand, pressing against Johnny's lower body. She is a sturdy woman, and even the gun she uses is a desert eagle. Ghost Rider will roar when it sees Lucifer, and I can't control Ghost Rider, so you are not Lucifer. Johnny Blazer looked at the woman. Yes, I'm sorry. The woman kicked under Johnny Blazer, and Johnny wailed and fell to the ground. I don't accept it, Johnny. The women circled around Johnny. You want to know why I know your name, Johnny Blazer? Because there is your poster in my brother's room. I used to fantasize about marrying you, and we were going for a ride on a motorcycle at sunset. All girls love bad boys, right? And it happened that I ended a marriage with another bad boy, not you, but another loser. Guess what? He would also be excited about pinching my neck, so I want to tell you something I told him. Kiss. The woman stuck the desert eagle on her ass, bye-bye. Wait, don't throw me here. Johnny reached out to the woman. Advertisement. You should be thankful that you met me. When I needed help, there were no people here. The passing cars looked at their own way and left me alone. So, hurry up. The woman pointed to her co-pilot and said. Soon, the big truck came to the gas station. That's it, the journey is over, Johnny, the woman said. Thank you. Johnny pushed the car door and walked towards the store. At the same time, a van also came to the gas station. The driver was a gray-haired old man with a hideous face and red eyes. I hope everyone stays here, understand? The old man looked at the passenger behind him grimly. I thought Grandpa was dead. A boy cried. He died his son. This is not your grandfather. The boy's mother said in fear. Tisk tusk. The old man smiled and pushed the car door and went out. He opened the fuel tank, inserted the fuel gun into the fuel tank, and let the fuel flow to the ground when it was full. What a glorious day. The old man walked to the gas station store. Hello, I want to buy one, please bring it. The old man pointed to the lighter on the merchandise shelf. Lighter. The shop assistant asked. Yes, come with any color. Anyway, I will use it once. The old man said. If it's only once, why don't you come to light the firewood? The shop assistant said. Matches. Good idea, I need a match. I like the smell of burning sulfur. The old man lit a match and said, it reminds me of home. At this time, some flames appeared behind the old man. Advertisement. At the same time, it was accompanied by the screams of the store attendant. Hey, Johnny. The old man turned around, and behind him was a man with a burning flame skull. How are you, Johnny? The old man grinned grimly, his skin turned scarlet, and a pair of curved horns grew on his forehead. Ghost Rider dashed forward, reached out and grabbed the demon and threw it outside. It's good, it's not as hard as hell, Lucifer, right? Ghost Rider rushed out, knocking the demon out with a punch. I almost feel sorry for you. It seems that the current situation will only get worse if you interfere. Lucifer grinned and pointed to the van next to him, with gasoline flowing on the ground. It's time to make a decision, Johnny. Lucifer looked at Ghost Rider, a match appeared in his hand. What are you going to do? If I get closer, with the power of hellfire on me, this car will explode, Johnny thought. If you step back, Lucifer may ignite it. It's hard to make a decision. If I take the lead and knock it out of the car with a chain. The time is up, it's time to make a decision, Johnny. Lucifer brought the match close to the gasoline on the ground. Boom. Johnny didn't even have time to think, the van exploded, blasting him out. And Lucifer's figure was also swallowed by the Big Bang. The flames are burning and rising to the sky. Ghost Rider looked at the burning van. He did not rescue the people inside. Chapter 198 Chapter 194 Open black lens bracket Sorcerer Supreme, asked monthly ticket, close black lens bracket. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. They are dead. At this moment, a mocking voice sounded from behind Ghost Rider, and a car was speeding toward Ghost Rider. Suicide is to go to hell, Johnny. The driver was a middle-aged man. He looked at Ghost Rider with a grinning smile on his face, and his eyes were red. You shouldn't be hesitation. At this time, another car rammed towards Ghost Rider, and Ghost Rider rushed toward the side of the road, avoiding the impact of the car. Don't be sad, Johnny, you will get another chance. The later driver looked at Johnny with scarlet eyes. Actually, there are 665. The previous driver stared at Ghost Rider, and the car sped away. Without motorcycles, Ghost Rider can only let them go. Night fell gradually. Moon stars are rare. Johnny went to look for his motorcycle alone. He walked alone on the lonely road. What's your name? At this moment, a voice rang behind Johnny. Johnny was sure that there was no one behind him. His head was burning with flames, and Ghost Rider appeared. I ask you to give me your name. The voice behind him sounded again. You speak first. Ghost Rider turned abruptly, and a pair of burning holes stared at the man behind him. My name is Steve Strange. Behind Ghost Rider, a man was floating. I'm Sorcerer Supreme. I'm here to make you stop revenge and stop immediately. Dr. Strange hovered in the air, looking down at Ghost Rider. Continuing to fight Lucifer will only make the situation worse. Your idea is not good, Lucifer. Ghost Rider waved the chain, wrapped it around Dr. Strange's neck, and slammed Dr. Strange directly on the ground. Advertisement. You can't fool me the second time, Lucifer. Ghost Rider roared and attacked Dr. Strange. Johnny Blazer, this is you. I was not sure about you before, it was vague to you, but now I am sure. Only you can be so stupid. Dr. Strange stood up. Shut up and fight again. Ghost Rider waved the chains of burning hellfire and lashed towards Dr. Strange. In that case, Johnny Blazer, feel the power of Byzantine. A powerful magical energy burst into Dr. Strange's hands, and a scarlet energy ray hit Ghost Rider, knocking him out. I don't know if this will make you awake. Dr. Strange flew towards Ghost Rider. Demon, listen up. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, I will find you. Your disguise is useless. Ghost Rider got up from the ground, and he looked at Dr. Strange with a pair of burning holes. You've teased me before, but now you can't. The chain in Ghost Rider's hand turned into a giant scythe that burned flames and slashed towards Dr. Strange. Enough. Dr. Strange hovered in the air. He looked at Ghost Rider and said, I came here to reason with you, but I know now, you have no reason to reason. You exist on this plane, and your ignorance and insensitive abuse of this power threaten all known realms, whether it is a mortal or a god. In order to protect these realms, I will never let go. Ghost Rider, today, you will not leave in front of me unharmed. Then how do you want to deal with me? Lucifer. Ghost Rider stared at Dr. Strange. I'm not Lucifer. A powerful magical energy burst out of Dr. Strange, and a scarlet energy ray blasted towards Ghost Rider. With a roar, Ghost Rider ejected magma flames from his mouth and shot towards Dr. Strange. The flames collided with the magical energy, and finally, the magical energy of Dr. Strange collapsed. Dr. Strange was startled, his big hand was brilliant, and a magic shield blocked him, but he was still flew out by the flames of Ghost Rider, and slammed to the side. Enough, you have tested my patience, evil soul that exceeds my strength. Dr. Strange cast his magic, and a column of magical energy fell from the sky and bombarded Ghost Rider. Advertisement. Rumble. The roar sounded, the rubble splashed. The energy dissipated, Ghost Rider lay on the ground, and the flame on the skull had disappeared. Ghost Rider, is it dead? Dr. Strange walked to Ghost Rider. What did I do? Dr. Strange opened his eyes wide. What I seek is to correct an imbalance that is extremely harmful, but I am worried that my mortal defects have caused my failure, continue to unscrupulously cross the boundaries of justice, and fall into the abyss of anger. At this time, several chains suddenly stretched out on Ghost Rider's corpse, holding Dr. Strange's body and throwing him far away. On Ghost Rider's skull, the raging flames burned again. He dashed towards Dr. Strange, his chain entangled Dr. Strange. Keep your eyes open and look at me, devil. A pair of flame-burning holes in Ghost Rider stared at Dr. Strange's eyes. Wait, you are not him, you are not Lucifer. Ghost Rider felt like he had messed up. This is an innocent person. But at this moment, Dr. Strange has fainted. New York City. West center of the city. In the street that had been reduced to half a ruin, a man rushed wildly, Looking back from time to time, it seemed that there was something like a scourge behind him. Hello. I guess, you should be looking for me. At this moment, a robot about 2 meters high suddenly appeared in front of the man. Advertisement. No, it should not be a robot. It's a strange creature that is half machine and half living. This guy is like a standing crocodile, but with a layer of armor. He wears a helmet on his head and a pair of big earphones. It is a bit nondescript, a bit like a predator. Asshole, go to hell. The man immediately drew his pistol from his arms and fired at the strange creature. Boom, boom, boom. The bullet shot at the strange creature, flashing a trace of sparks, but it had no effect on the strange creature. Okay, Tom, stop playing. At this moment, a voice came. Received. The strange creature dashed forward and kicked the man out. It quickly came to the man's side, with some rope just next to it. The strange creature tied the man's 5 flowers and then tied it to a street lamp. In the alley, a young man and a boy came out. The boy is Kei Kuwait, and the young man is Li Wei. The monsters invaded, leaving New York City almost in ruins, especially in the center of the city. It is precisely because of this that recent crimes have become more and more intense. Since many superheroes in the Heroes Association were seriously injured, the glorious task of bringing a newcomer fell to Li Wei. The strange creature next to him was a monster summoned by Kei Kuwait. Let's go. The task is over, we are going back. Li Wei said. Chapter 199 Chapter 195 The Price of Absolute Power. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Rainbow Island. On the sunny beach, Li Wei was wearing a pair of shorts and sunglasses, lying comfortably on a beach chair. Although it was a comfortable day, he always felt that something was missing in his heart. My heart is empty and I can't lift the energy for anything. Li Wei doesn't know if Saitama, who has gained invincible power, will have such a feeling, but he is having this kind of thought at the moment. Before him, his feelings are gradually fading and have not disappeared. But recently, Li Wei discovered that his important thing as human beings, feelings, is disappearing. Yes, the word disappear is most suitable. This is a terrible discovery. Walking on this earth, Li Wei suddenly felt a sense of strangeness, as if he was just a passing passenger. He lost interest in all things. He didn't know in which direction this kind of evolution was going before, but now that he knows, it won't be going in a good direction. As time passed, Li Wei seemed to slowly become a powerful body. This feeling really exists in his heart, and it is getting stronger and stronger. That's why Li Wei was frantically looking for things to do, in the hope of regaining human feelings. If you want to use a metaphor, Li Wei thought for a while, just like in the Chinese fairy cultivating legend, if you want to become an immortal or become a god, you must give up the 7 emotions and 6 desires of mankind. Li Wei now seemed to be a prisoner of power. At the moment Li Wei was thinking, he suddenly found that the sun had disappeared and the sky had become much darker. Advertisement. Li Wei took off his sunglasses, the sky was gone, replaced by a ceiling with chandeliers. Li Wei was still asleep on the beach chair, but the surrounding environment had completely changed. Next to him, Dr. Strange was drinking a cup of tea and staring at him. Beside Dr. Strange, there is Professor X. Need a drink? Dr. Strange said, looking at Li Wei. Li Wei hadn't spoken yet, and a large glass of beer appeared in his hand. After taking a sip of beer, Li Wei said, Doctor, your abrupt joint approach is not good. Li, we are in big trouble this time. Dr. Strange said solemnly. Big trouble, can there be a king of monsters? Li Wei said disapprovingly. There is nothing worse than it is. Dr. Strange said. Oh, isn't it? Li Wei was interested, and he sat cross-legged on a beach chair. I'm afraid, a demon of the level of Hell Demon has come to this dimension. He is Lucifer, the devil in ancient magic books and folk tales. Dr. Strange said. Is it powerful? Very powerful. That's just right. I mean such a powerful devil, we should set out to solve him immediately. Li Wei raised his fist and said seriously. Li is really a good person, I've never seen someone so passionate about him. Dr. Strange discussed with Professor X, and then both nodded in agreement. Then let's go. Boom boom boom. On the highway, a group of motorcyclists were racing wildly. Their speed is so fast that they are life-threatening. Behind the group of motorcyclists, a police car followed. Advertisement. As the motorcycle riders drive, you can see the cheeks of these motorcycle riders grinning grimly, their eyes are red, and there are already some non-human characteristics on their skulls. In his mouth, he spit out a lizard-like tongue. Is there still a car on the road? The police officer shouted into the intercom in the police car. Any team can hear you. Stop this group of bastards. These bastards have already killed 19 innocent people. Let me go. Suddenly, the police officer on the police car opened his eyes wide, because a flaming motorcycle was passing by them. This is not your battle, Johnny said to the officers on the flame motorbike. It's mine, Johnny said. He was already close to the demons in front, and the chains of burning hellfire in his hand lashed towards the group of demons. The bang blew, and the car crashed and killed Johnny. On the locomotive, another demon survived. Go back to hell. Hellfire sprayed out of Ghost Rider's mouth, burning the demon to death. The revenge has begun. Johnny rode his motorcycle and galloped away. The blood of the innocent was flowing, and he yearned for revenge. Next to a creek, a baptism is going on. To put down my sword and shield, by the river, by the river. On the bank, children in robes sang songs. In the creek, a priest in a white robe reached out to the children. Come on, my child. A boy walked into the stream. The priest pinched his nose, covered his mouth, and leaned the boy back into the water. Puff. The boy slapped the water with his hands and feet violently, as if he wanted to break free of the priest's control, but he was firmly held down by the priest. Finally, the boy is no longer struggling. Lying quietly in the water. What did you do? At this moment, the pastor next to him stared at the pastor with wide eyes. He quickly stepped forward and picked up the boy in the water, but he was breathless. Advertisement. Hey, wait, don't get excited, man, I'm a novice, give me a few more attempts and I can get it done, okay. The priest smiled. So, who is next? The priest looked at the children on the shore. It's you. At this moment, a voice came from a distance, and the flame motorcycle rushed over. There was a grinning smile on the priest's face, his skin became rough and scarlet, and two curved horns grew on his head. Ghost Rider flew out of the car, and the chain of burning hell in his hand lashed towards Lucifer in the water. It doesn't work, Johnny. Lucifer grabbed Ghost Rider by the chain and threw Ghost Rider directly. Crack. Ghost Rider slammed his back against a tree, smashing the tree at his waist. Its power has become stronger again, stronger than the last time. Johnny said in surprise. Get up, Johnny. Lucifer came to Ghost Rider, grabbed Ghost Rider by the neck, and lifted him up. Where is revenge? Where is rage, Johnny? Lucifer stared at Ghost Rider with a grin. Vengeance. Lucifer sneered and punched Ghost Rider, directly flying him out. I will send you back to hell. Ghost Rider got up from the ground, he roared, and lava flames spurted from his mouth, rushing towards Lucifer. The flames soared into the sky, and Lucifer was enveloped in hellfire, and soon fell to the ground. Ghost Rider walked quickly over, the flame dissipated, and Lucifer's whole body was scorched. I feel that the fat is getting hot. Suddenly, Lucifer, who was scorched to black, opened his mouth. Ghost Rider was startled. Before he could react, Lucifer had already grabbed his foot and made a click. Ghost Rider's calf was torn off. Without the calf, Ghost Rider staggered back and forth and sat down on the ground. Chapter 200 Chapter 196. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Following you again and again, Johnny, why are you always so stupid? Lucifer walked up to Ghost Rider and stepped on Ghost Rider's chest. With a click, the bone in Ghost Rider's chest broke directly, sunken down. Don't be proud, demon. Ghost Rider grabbed Lucifer's leg. This is because I have been suppressing it, because I don't want to be taken over by it, but now you can see that this won't work. Lucifer, this time, I will let it come out. Ghost Rider said, his pair of holes burned with blazing flames, and the hellfire was soaring. The powerful evil soul in the body instantly took over Johnny's body. That is the original power of Johnny's incarnation of Ghost Rider, an ancient evil soul, and the incomparably powerful elemental demon Lord Zatanos that appeared in a period of about 20,000 years ago. Zatanos is so powerful that even Mephisto, who is stunned in the universe of gods and demons, is unwilling to take the risk and confront Zatanos head-on. In the end, Zatanos was sealed by the spirit of vengeance. By coincidence, he became one with Johnny. Really? Lucifer grinned evilly. It grabbed Ghost Rider's neck with one hand and threw him out. Ghost Rider got up from the ground, his broken foot ejected out of hellfire and quickly recovered. Johnny is not here, right? Lucifer said, looking at Ghost Rider. Please, let me move my shin, don't tell me that the real thing is on Johnny. Lucifer looked at Ghost Rider mockingly, its tail swinging behind him. Let me send you to hell. Ghost Rider finished speaking, and the chain in his hand began to burn hellfire, forming a cross. I knew you were worth looking forward to. Lucifer grinned and said, Johnny is fun to play, but you are rock and roll, and you make a thunderous sound. Ghost Rider held the chain cross in his hand, the hellfire was soaring, and it threw towards Lucifer. Advertisement. The cross turned into a flaming arrow, shot at Lucifer's body with lightning speed, knocking it out several tens of meters, and nailing it to a huge wood. Lucifer vomited red mucus and burned with hellfire on his body. It grinned grinningly. Yes, this is cool. It will be more refreshing. Ghost Rider said. He leaned forward with one hand, and there was a loud bang. The body of Lucifer in the distance exploded, and the surging sea of fire instantly ignited the forest. Tisk tusk tusk. It's really cool, you and Johnny have the same hot personality. Lucifer walked out in the sea of fire. It grinned, and the flesh and blood on his body melted. The time is up. Let me send you to hell. Ghost Rider dashed forward, ejecting magma flame from his mouth, and instantly swallowing Lucifer. As the fire blazed into the sky, Lucifer's body dissipated with the hellfire. The flame on the skull dissipated, and Johnny recovered. Johnny. At this moment, a voice rang behind Johnny. Johnny turned around, and Doctor Strange and Li Wei walked out of the whirlpool. It's you. Johnny definitely remembered the magician who was knocked out by himself. He looked at Doctor Strange and said, I'm sorry for what happened before. I thought you were Lucifer's disguise. There are many things you don't know. Doctor Strange said. You know, Lucifer. Do you know what the 665 choices mean? Lucifer told me. Johnny said. Do you want revenge? Doctor Strange asked. Exactly. Johnny nodded. Johnny, do you know where this will eventually lead? I know. I have been there, and then I came back. Johnny said. Not only did you come back from hell, you also brought Lucifer back. Advertisement. Doctor Strange said. Do you know Lucifer's plan? Johnny looked at the magician in front of him. He had just returned from hell. Not many people knew about it. If you know its plan, or you can tell me how to stop it. Johnny said. You can't stop it, Johnny, because you are also part of its plan. Let me tell you what you did. Doctor Strange continued. There is a big difference between the law of the mortal plane and the law of the gods and devil planes. None, unless it exists in the form of ghost. When you returned from the plane of the gods and demons, you were unscathed, but Lucifer was not. Johnny, only you have the ability of transverse plane. This is why Lucifer used you to escape. But unlike you, Lucifer does not have a body container to hold him in the mortal plane, so when he crossed, it disintegrated. But it was here just now, I saw it. Johnny said. You only saw its fragments. That's why I came to you last time, but you couldn't listen to it. Doctor Strange said. When the form of Lucifer's gods and demons was broken, these small fragments were scattered on the earth and possessed in the bodies of ordinary people. How many? Johnny asked. 666. Doctor Strange said. God, so much, how can I stop all Lucifer? Johnny was shocked. Johnny, you absolutely can't do this. Doctor Strange said. But I have to do it, that's my responsibility. But this is what Lucifer wants you to do. It wants you to kill it. What? Johnny was astonished. Lucifer wanted to kill it himself. He obviously couldn't believe it. Advertisement. When one of Lucifer's body container is destroyed, its remaining body will become much stronger. If you continue your revenge and do what Lucifer wants you to do, in the end, it will only have one body left. Then Lucifer will unify all his hell powers in one body, and the complete Lucifer will descend on this earth. But why me? He can let anyone kill it. Johnny asked. It will, but it only works to a certain extent. Over time, his scattered body will be so powerful that no one can destroy it except you. That's why Lucifer needs you, Johnny. Doctor Strange stared at Johnny. Why didn't he go? Suicide. I think you already know the answer. Suicide is about going to hell. I think you have a deep understanding. Lucifer has been waiting for generations to escape from hell, Johnny, it won't simply go back. Then I will drive it back, and I will hunt down all its forms until there is only one left, and then I will drag it back into hell. Johnny said. No, you can't do this. Doctor Strange stopped Johnny from thinking. You can never imagine the power of Lucifer's ontology. It is not something you can defeat. Johnny Blazer turned and left. No one can stop me from taking revenge. Furthermore, Lucifer is very strong, and I am not weaker than it.